What's Schwab Squad's name again? We are live. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
This is an exciting time, the first show of the season when there's actually stuff to talk about.
What's up, Adam? How's it going? Corey?
Matthew?
It's good to see you all.
Where do you see
Perry?
Adam? Who's Adam?
Oh, Scott.
Where are you seeing all these people?
Oh, you don't see them here?
I'm only looking at the names of the people who've written messages, and I'm seeing Matthew, and then I'm seeing Shams and Jay Brew. But where do you see other names? I want to see those names. Who's Scott? Who's Adam? Hello to them also. I also want to say hello to Scott and Adam. I just don't know. I'm curious to know where you see them.
Who I presume are here.
Oh, fun. Okay. Yeah, great. Hello. This is going to be a really fun show. Yeah, Matthew, I was just kind of thinking we'll talk about Ryan Donato today. I just thought because we talked about it last week, and we said he's going to get this deployment, and then he kind of did but it's we got to now we got to look at it
Elon doesn't want to talk about Ryan Donato because he didn't pick Ryan Donato. He picked everyone except
I have Ryan Donato in another league. I'm happy about my pick of Ryan Donato in my league I'm doing with Victor. I took him out of free agency.
Mason, Ashley, it's nice to see you.
So now you are looking at the shit. Okay. All right. Let's start the show.
There is a participants tab. I can see everyone who's a participant.
Really? Where do you see that?
The 3 dots.
Okay, 3 dots. Participants. What?
Wow.
I never saw this before. I'm still not seeing a Scott or an Adam.
Schwab Squad wants to talk about Ryan Donato.
Yeah, we've covered that.
He just demands the joke is that Ryan Donato has forced our hand.
All right, we're in. It's happening. But not to start the show. Is it okay if we don't start the show on Ryan Donato?
We're not leading with Ryan Donato.
We can if you really want.
We call ourselves a fantasy hockey podcast.
Should my joke at the start be hosted by 2 guys who Ryan Donato, and just get into the show?
But we both have him.
Yeah, hosted by 2 guys who have Ryan Donato in a league. I guess we can. Sure.
No, I don't think. I think that's a funny joke for anyone who's been talking with us for the last 2 minutes.
30 seconds. Okay. I actually haven't thought of a joke though, so I am a little bit pressed.
Oh, while you think about it, do you know that
I wanted a suggestion.
Oh,
what do you need to go?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Hosted by 2 guys who, what's happened recently?
Are you winning your first week of the Cupful?
No, I'm losing.
Oh,
thank you for asking.
So you could say 2 guys who are batting 500 in Cupful week 1.
Okay, sure.
Who are together.
Sounds great. I'm so happy.
You can take and you can leave it up to the imagination of who's who.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, Ashley, you who played for you today? Oh,
what are you talking
Tarasenko.
Sorry, what's happening?
Well, I felt pretty confident in my matchup, but Ashley is creeping closer.
Ashley, the one that's in the chat here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 points behind now.
So I shouldn't make that joke because it might not be true.
Yeah.
All right. Hosted by 2. Afraid. Okay, we'll just figure it out. I'll just make it up.
Just do it.
Yeah, who cares? All right.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah! Yes! Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Karlsson Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the longest running fantasy hockey podcast in the world, hosted by 2 guys who have put a combined 100 hours into the Yahoo Fantasy app this week. I am your host, Elon Dubrovsky, and with me to talk about the first 6 days of NHL action. It's so exciting, Brian, to finally be back to doing this. I was prepping the show this morning and I was like, oh, this is what it's like again. So going through all the stats and seeing who played with who, and man, it's it was like reuniting with an old friend. And once again, of course, I am reuniting with an old friend here on the call because with me, I'm Elon Dubrovsky. If I didn't say that, with me for the start of the season, all the way till the end of the season, and even in the off season, it's Brian Comm. Brian, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm what's the opposite of withdrawal? That's what I'm going through, and that's what
Addiction.
You're describing. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say old habits pick up really fast, but maybe that's too light a word for it. Rituals Is
We're
that
back
strong?
on the wagon, I think
We're
you could
back.
say.
We are back on the wagon, or no, I think we're off the wagon. And in any case, the fantasy hockey season has started. And yes, I am constantly opening my Yahoo app. Can I like to throw a quick shout out when I can to my sports alerts app, which I think is like the nicest,
Sure.
cleanest scoreboard watching tool that's
Sorry, is
out
it
there.
called My Sports Alert, or you're
It's
saying My
called
Sports Alert app?
it's called Sports Alerts.
Oh,
And like it's like a kind of an abstract picture of a whistle. They just updated the image actually in time for hockey season, certainly. They have all the sports though. And that's why it's called Sports Alerts. It's a really good app and I really enjoy it. And like just for scoreboard watching, I don't know, Elon, am I like a special kind of sicko? Like I actually, instead of refreshing like my fantasy matchup page, I actually refresh like the NHL scoreboards like through this app, and then I consider what the ramifications for my fantasy team likely are.
Oh no, I'm with you. I like doing that too. It's more fun that way because you get to first you see like, oh, Columbus scored. Interesting. And then you click in, then you see, I like to even scroll and first see just who scored the goal. Then I'm like, oh, Laine scored. Does that mean maybe Fantilli got an assist? And then you scroll a little more.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
you go
it's
back
fun.
to the matchup page and then you watch the numbers tick up. Like you get like an extra little, it's like a double hit. Although like it also hurts in the opposite direction too when nothing's going on and you go to your matchup and you see. But yeah, I don't scoreboard watch my matchup. I scoreboard watch the scoreboard first. And I'm not sure I don't really know the rationale. Anyway, that's how I'm doing it. Plus also on the Yahoo app, Elon, I'm missing the little feature like last year when you clicked the home button on the bottom left, it would show you all your teams and you could just like from a little contextual pop-up. But now it takes you to like the home page and then where it lists your teams in like a less friendly. Anyway, it's great to be here, and we're just getting back into the swing of things, including having short, succinct, coherent intro. So I'm really excited to get to the news because holy cow, is there a lot of it? We have results, we have games. It's exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I've got a Google Doc here with more names than can fit in an episode, but we're just going to see what we can do with it. Also, Shams gave me a really good joke. So, Brian, I want to start the show over again. Yeah, yes. Hosted by two guys who wish we had the healing ability of Taylor Hall. I'm your host, Dylan Brofsky. That was a good one. So I had to throw that out there. Thanks, Shams.
Good one.
Next time, come in 5 minutes earlier, please. But okay. All right. So let's get started, Brian. Oh, by the way, you shouted out the Sports Alert app. I'll shout out DobberHockey.com, who proudly presents this podcast. And I'm always on frozen pools. Like also, like that's like not a lie. To prepare the show, to look at the latest line combinations. I'm on Game Day Tweets to see the tweets about upcoming line combos. And then I'm on Frozen Tools to see what actually happened in a game. So it's always really fun to spend my life on these two websites and in Yahoo. Okay, Brian, let's get into the headlines. Okay, we're going to start the show. For those of you who don't know, we like to start with the fantasy hockey headlines of the week. And I'm going to start with Zach Werenski. He's injured again. At first, it looked like we were out at our Keeping Karlsson Ottawa meetup with a bunch of really fun patrons, and we saw that Werenski was injured. And then someone was like, oh, a friend told me that he heard that Werenski's out for the season. And I was like, oh my God, not again. That's terrible after he hadn't played for most of last season. But it turns out not true. So it was a knee-to-knee collision. He suffered a quad contusion and is expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks. So not so bad. But of course, we'll see. Let's see him come back and be back to normal. In the meantime, of course, the fantasy ramifications are there's someone new who's going to take over on the top power play. Or in Columbus's case, they decided to really split up those power plays. Like Gaudreau and Laine were both on different power play units. This was for a win over the Rangers. So I'd imagine they're going to stick with it. It's like Laine, Texier, Danforth, Fantilli, and Severson on one, and then Jenner, Gaudreau, Marchenko, Kent Johnson, and Provorov on the other. So you can't really say like which is, I don't even know which one is power play 1 and power play 2. These look, this isn't like New Jersey where it also looks even, but then the Jack Hughes one got all the time. I think this one, it could go either way. But yeah, you're looking at Provorov and Severson, each getting a bump in some power play time. Potentially Provorov's the one who's like actually gone off a little bit. He had 2 assists in that game versus the Rangers and also 4 blocks. So Severson also had 4 blocks, but no points. So Brian, I'm going to throw to you first. Ivan Provorov, who knew we'd be starting the season talking about him, but I think he's worth an ad. I grabbed him actually in my couple division with those peripherals, with all of his blocks and hits. And now you throw in some power play time and even some offensive abilities as we've seen in this last game. I think he's worth an ad if you need a D.
Yeah, I think so. Especially, well, for all the reasons you mentioned. And if you're just wondering, like, yes, he is playing the most of any Columbus skater, averaging 24 minutes a night, which, even if Provorov isn't necessarily a naturally gifted scorer or blocker or a shooter or any of those things, when you're on the ice for 24 minutes a night, there could be just plenty of opportunity to be able to do those things, even if you you have a little more time to be able to put up those peripherals. So that's a good thing for Ivan Provorov. And Damon Severson also, like, I've seen him added and already dropped in a few leagues. And like, that's the difference, right? Between like a lucky assist or two or a power play assist like Provorov had. So I think both of them are interesting because, Elon, you mentioned the Columbus power plays are still kind of split and there's not a clear top unit. So yeah, absolutely. And also, just before we move on to the next Columbus guys, for anyone saying like Zach Werenski is like a Band-Aid boy because like he's hurt after missing the season, I just want to remind everyone that like last year it was a torn labrum. And looking at Google and the location of the labrum, that's like around the shoulder area. Right. So like, this is a totally different thing. It was a knee on knee. It's a freak thing. It could have happened to anyone. I don't think Werenski, I mean, maybe I'm getting out like ahead of myself. I've already seen like I didn't draft Werenski because I didn't want to take the risk. And I get that about his shoulder in case it's not healed or whatever. But that's not like, I don't, anyway, I would say if anybody is like, oh, like Werenski, what if he's out for a week or two and it turns into a month or two and I just can't deal with the injury risk? Maybe that's a nice buy low opportunity for you.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, if you can get a frustrated manager to give you Werenski on the cheap, why not? Also, shout out to a few other players here on Columbus. First of all, Ellis Merzlikins, nice start, right? He had a good game against Philly, even though they lost, and then got the win over the Rangers. He actually had to leave in the third period, but it looks like he was just like sick, so it wasn't like anything serious. So he'll probably be back for the next game. So, we were talking about all these goalies that you can get late that might be volume guys. And I would say Merzlikins might be the early favorite of anyone you got like in the, 14th round plus. I don't remember what his exact ADP was, but like, we're going to talk about some other goalies later on, like your Grubauers, for example. And definitely at this point, it's easy to pick Merzlikins over Grubauer after a couple games. Obviously, this is goalies and this is a small sample size. We should probably also point out that this whole episode is going to be small sample size, but right now I'm pretty excited to see that Merzlikins, because Merzlikins was good before, and then last year it almost seemed like a fluke. Crap, like it was such a crappy season, and there were like a lot of excuses that he had, like legitimate excuses, like every defenseman was injured and his friend had died, and I'm curious to see what he's going to do this year, and it's a nice start for what it's worth.
Yeah, Merzlikins is up to a 950 save percentage. He's stopped 70 of the 73 shots that he's faced so far. And Elon, I think we can lift up Merzlikins without having to tear down anyone else. But I know you look for any opportunity for some Grubauer slander, which there is some baked in later into the show. So how about we save it for then? But Merzlikins, it is really hard to say in the moment if this is like a really great like buy low or sell high or whatever opportunity. All it says to me is like, let's keep watching. And if you did draft him, wherever you drafted him, it was probably late. And if he's helping you win your week one matchup, that might be more than you had already expected of him. So one good week from Merzlikins so far. Let's see if he can get healthy and do it again next week.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, though, it's helping. They brought in Provorov and Severson. Once Werenski comes back, it's a little bit of a better defense than last year, assuming they could actually stay healthy. Okay, Brian, you're going to like this next one. Boone Jenner had a hat trick versus the Rangers.
I benched it.
But you have him. You can still feel good that you have him on your team.
I feel good that I have him. As someone who's like in the books, in your books, is a Boone Jenner non-believer, I'm believing.
Oh, that's old now. You love him now.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. It was great to see.
Okay, and then I'll also mention a couple other guys. So Marchenko, who was our big hero in the preseason, getting line one and power play one deployment, that quickly changed, and now it's like back, and the lines are all over the place. All that's really matters is the stats, though, at the end of the day, and pretty cool that Marchenko has no goals and 3 assists. Very different than last year, where he had like 21 goals and only 4 assists. Last year he had only 4 assists all season. He's already up to 3 in 2 games. So if he can also be a 20-goal scorer, and also get, assists every once in a while, all of a sudden we're looking at a 50-plus point guy. So check out Marchenko if he's still available for you. He's also been, well, now it's not really top power play anymore, because like I said, they've been splitting the power plays. On the flip side, I'd be curious to get your thoughts on Adam Fantilli. And again, it's 2 games, so I don't know if we should spend too much time on any of these people, but I feel bad. I dropped him from my couple team because I feel like I just got to go for it every week, right? And so I lost the first week. I'm throwing it out there, and so next week I want to get those games played. I saw an opportunity, and yeah, he has only 1 assist in the 2 games, but 4 shots. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think like the thing is we can't predict? Like eventually he's going to be an amazing superstar. The question is when. He's getting a deployment with Line. Like there's nothing so wrong with him, but he hasn't like made that immediate impact like let's say a Logan Cooley made or a Connor Bedard made, of course.
Right. And like this is the difference really between a point or not a point, right? Like Fantilli has 1 point in 2 games. He could have easily had 2 points. In fact, he played a couple minutes extra in the second game over the first game, which I think is a promising sign. But Elon, I'm with you. Like if you are going for it every single week and you don't have a roster spot to spare because of the competition in your league, which you often do find in the Cupful, the Keeping Karlsson Ultimate Page in Fantasy League, kkupfl.com, then I think Fantilli plays on 2 off nights this upcoming week. So if you wanted to hold on, you could, but also just with the way that the lines are being spread in Columbus, like there's no clear first line, there's no clear top power play unit. So in that, like with that situation, plus Fantilli not storming out of the gate, I would consider him pretty droppable. Elon, someone who I'll consider addable, like if you're in a deep enough league, that I just want to quickly give a shout out to Alex Texier. I know it's been a while, but he is playing on one of these lines in Columbus that, well, with Liney and Fantilli in the last game, and Texier is also playing with Liney and Fantilli and Justin Danforth on one of those 2 kind of split power play units. That one seems like the second unit to me, honestly. Like it's just Patrick Liney that makes us wonder because the other one is Jenner, Gaudreau, Marchenko, and then Kent Johnson. But they're still mixing things up. So we'll see where things land. But Texier, like he's been away for a while. He once had a pedigree. He's still just 24 years old. And over the first 2 games, he's put 5 shots on net and averaged 19 minutes of ice time, which actually makes him the 3rd most on the ice forward in the Blue Jackets lineup. So I think there's at least if you're looking for a deep cut to start with for next week to get a couple extra GP, Alex Texier, just want to pop him on the radar here, Elon. I'm not saying he's any better or worse an option as Adam Fantilli, but I think he's worth considering if you are diving deep enough into the Blue Jackets roster this upcoming week. Oh, and the one other thing I wanted to mention is you said like Columbus is like with Severson and Provorov has shored up their defense. It's early and we're not coming to any conclusions, but they provided worse coverage for Merzlikins over the first 2 games this year compared to the coverage that the Blue Jackets offered their goalies last year at 5-on-5.
Okay, something to watch then.
And they were ranked 31st in the league last year in like defensive coverage at 5-on-5. This year, currently ranking 31st, ahead of only Tampa.
Yikes. Okay. I thought Tampa didn't even lose any defensemen. I don't know what's going on with them. But anyways, we'll talk about them later. Okay, Brian. Second fantasy hockey headline of the week, Austin Matthews. This is the kind of thing where like we have to talk about it, even though there's obviously no implications for anyone here. Yeah, trade for Austin Matthews. Hey, 2 straight hat tricks. What the heck? Meanwhile, McDavid only has a single goal in his 2 games. At this point, you got to imagine Austin Matthews is the front runner to win the Rocket Richard Trophy. I'm curious. It was only a couple seasons ago where, at least in our scoring in Cupful, Austin Matthews had like the same value as McDavid. And then last year, McDavid Matthews had a bit of a down year, and McDavid like blew everyone out of the water. So we were talking about it just like whoever gets first overall guaranteed. You have such an advantage because you have McDavid. And again, like I'm definitely not to slander McDavid or anything, but it's just like if Austin Matthews is going to get a hat trick every single game, all of a sudden maybe getting 2nd or 3rd overall wasn't so bad if you were able to land Austin. So I don't know. I don't even have a question for you, but if you had to predict who's going to win the Rocket Richard right now, would you just go McDavid as the early season, like the preseason front runner, or you got to switch to Matthews at this point now that he has a 6-1 lead?
Yeah, well, I think that's it. He has a 5-goal head start, and there's only 80 games remaining in the season. So yeah, I'm going to take that 5-goal head start from Austin Matthews. And you, I don't know, maybe you could get better odds too. Matthews, by the way, has scored 6 times on 13 shots, but he is looking like legit dangerous, like not as dangerous as 6 goals on 13 shots, which no NHLer is capable of doing yet, but really good, like great look all around from Matthews. Like he's just firing the puck, taking as many shot attempts as he has been last year, but more of them are reaching the net in these first couple games than had been reaching the net really any other time. Like we're getting wacky sample size, so I shouldn't even be like digging this deep into it, but Austin Matthews, what he's doing looks for real. And I like Elon, my first thought is, are we going to see the season from Matthews that put him in the same category as Connor McDavid before he played last year and could not hold himself up to that esteem?
I mean, it's possible. And I know that Matthews has had wrist injuries in the past. You never know if like maybe he was being held back by that a little bit before. And but we'll see. It's again small sample size. I had to shout it out. Also, like a lot of Leafs are doing really well alongside Matthews. Right, Nylander has 2 goals and 3 assists. This is just in 2 games against Montreal and Minnesota. Right, Tavares 5 assists. Got to call out John Klingberg, who's gotten on that top power play and he's producing. He has 3 assists in these 2 games. Only 1 on the power play, so that's even nice to see. He's producing at even strength and he's getting that time with that great unit. So I think at this point, we can just tell everyone, grab Klingberg. Like if you're in any league of any size, I can't imagine that Klingberg is someone that should be a free agent. And I feel bad that I didn't get him earlier, but like he's on the top power play on Toronto. He's producing. What else do you need to see? And on the flip side, I'm curious to ask you, Morgan Riley, he actually also has 3 assists. So he's doing really well. I wonder if now, like, again, I don't know. You tell me if this is dumb. Like, I wonder if now's a good time to try to sell Morgan Riley because it looks like Klingberg is going to hold this top power play. So maybe Riley's value is at like the highest it's ever going to be since he's actually producing really well. But I can't imagine he's going to be able to keep it up to this extent if he's not getting top power play.
Well, we were talking about Morgan Riley and what if he's not on the top unit, just how valuable he can be. And like, yeah, you could get up to 55 points, maybe even 60 off the top unit. But right now, it looks like he's still on the top unit if someone's not quite paying attention. And I'm not ruling out the chance that he gets back up there, especially if Klingberg, has a couple of big defensive lapse moments. But this is what I think I was like. Of course, now I want to believe I was always anticipating Klingberg on the top. But like Klingberg was one of Brad Treliving's first moves as a GM to bring in. The Leafs have never seemed to be very happy with Morgan Riley as a power play quarterback. So I'm not surprised to see Klingberg there. He's probably like pretty bargain basement start the season. This does not promise a full season of great things because keep in mind, the Leafs have scored 12 times in their first 2 games. It's not going to keep happening. Like think about how many, like it usually takes a team 4 or 5, some of them 6 games to score their first 12 of the year. So we're seeing a lot of early results from Toronto that we don't want to react too strongly to, including going 4 for 7 on the power play over the first 2 outings. But yeah, Elon, high on Klingberg. Riley, I don't know if like sell high if you know what you're going to be getting back. Like I don't sell him for parts because you think he's going to be like Sergachev level production, like previous Sergachev level, like power play 2 Sergachev, who was like a 45-point player. I think Riley's going to still beat that mark even off the top power play unit. But if you can trick someone into thinking that he's still got a shot at like 60 points for sure and upside for more, then yeah, you could explore that.
Yeah, maybe go for like I don't know, Victor Hedman. I don't know. We'd have to think. Tweet at us at Kevin Karlsson. Let us know if you have any good trade targets to swap Morgan Riley for. Brian. One more thing I actually want to mention about the Leafs. We have some new lines for their upcoming game against Chicago. It looks like Max Domi has been bumped from the second line, and he's going to be playing on the line, I guess the third line with Nyes and Minton, 2 rookies, and that's going to leave Kalle Järnkrok getting an upgrade over to play with Tavares and Nylander. So if you're in a deep league, you're looking for a stream for Monday, maybe take a look at Kalle Järnkrok, who has gotten points there before. He's also done nothing there before. So, don't expect big things, but it's a good spot to be in.
Matthew in the chat is suggesting Rasmus Andersson as maybe a decent trade option for Morgan Riley. I think that's an interesting one. One other thing to watch in Toronto, Elon, I'm wondering about Ilya Samsonov starting the season with an .839 save percentage. The Leafs have scored 12 times, but he has allowed 9 goals against. And I'm curious to see, like, Joseph Woll is definitely going to start like one of the next 2 games.
I think he's been confirmed. He's been confirmed to start tomorrow against Chicago.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we can argue about how much of a test that will really be, but I'm really curious to see what happens if Woll can string together one good game and then another good game, and what that means for Ilya Samsonov and when his next chance to prove himself will come.
Yeah, it would be fun to get like a coach on the show to kind of like, if your team is winning, but your goalie isn't doing that good, like, are you concerned, or is it almost like, I don't care, it's working. Whatever's happening is working. Like, I don't need to mess with anything. But yeah, Woll's obviously going to get the start, and we'll see. But yeah, Samsonov probably has to be better. Also, who knows if it was like score effects? Like, I don't know, the Leafs are ahead by so much. But I guess actually that game against Montreal was really close.
If Samsonov's name was Grubauer, it would be over and the job would be Wolves.
Can we just talk about Grubauer now then, since you keep bringing him up, or you keep saying that? Yeah, I'm low on Grubauer, and he hasn't been that great to start. And Decord just had a really great game. So I guess we'll see if Joseph Woll could be the Decord to Samsonov's Grubauer. Of course, the difference is the Leafs won those games. But yeah, I think that anyone who thought that Philip Grubauer is going to play like a big percentage of Seattle's games this year, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Joey Decord seems to me like he's better. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's early.
Based on, yeah, like, I don't know. Elon,
based on a whole crappy season from Grubauer last year.
Yeah, but you said he didn't start well this year. Do you know he stopped 32 of 34 against Nashville?
Yeah, but how did he do in the other game?
24 of 27.
Yeah, so it's okay. So maybe not the most terrible.
Like, I feel like I don't really know. Like, I feel like Seattle would like Grubauer to start 2 of every 3 and have Decord do well in the 1 of every 3. Okay, yeah. Now we've talked about it. Now we can move on.
You're right. Grubauer's a .918 save percentage. So
yeah, I just I don't know, Elon, that I see a huge. Well, I understand the difference because of the order of the way things have happened between Samsonov and Grubauer. I'm just pointing at. I feel like there's like Woll and Decord feel like comparable with their career track records.
Okay.
And Samsonov and Grubauer also, neither one has established themselves. So I'm curious.
Yeah, me too. So I think I'm with you with Woll potentially. It'll be fun to see what he can do in this next game and how Samsonov does then in his next game. All right. So Brian, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back in just a sec. All right, we are back. Welcome back to Keeping Karlsson. Brian, let's get into our third fantasy hockey headline of the week. Another just superstar doing amazing. Jack Hughes had 2 goals against Detroit, 3 assists versus Arizona to start the season. I think we're at a point now where there's a legit argument that Jack Hughes should be a top 5 fantasy asset. Obviously, we have all the way till next year to worry about drafts again. But I think, you've got your McKinnon, not in this order, not in this order, but McKinnon, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Matthews. I think we're getting to a point where you have to consider Jack Hughes. He's just doing so well. I'm very excited to see how the season's going to turn out for him. The New Jersey, I was mentioning that split power play before, where a lot of people were getting concerned when we were seeing that New Jersey was going to be going with like Hughes, Bratt, Palat, Toffoli on one, and then like Hischier and Meyer on another one. Seemed like in the last game anyways, it was that Jack Hughes, Bratt, Palat, Toffoli one that got the most time. So I just think probably we'll see how it goes moving forward. I think it's just sort of like, not to worry about Jack Hughes losing time, and like potentially you're really excited about Bratt and Toffoli, and I think you have to start getting a little nervous. But I'm very curious to know your feeling right now about Timo Meier, okay? Because last year incredible, he gets traded to New Jersey. He didn't do anything in New Jersey. We talked about it on the show. You were saying like the underlying numbers look good. He was taking lots of shots. Everything was fine. It was just like he was getting some bad luck. Now we go into this year again. 2 games so far. No points for Timo Meier. And these are games where, like I said, Jack Hughes is able to put up 5 points so far and still nothing from Meier. Like, are we worried yet? Or like, are you still thinking like, definitely go trade for Timo Meier now because his value is lower than it'll ever be and you're going to get him for cheap and he's going to be just as amazing as he was in San Jose?
So we saw a trade in the cupful go down already, right? It was Timo Meier for Jake Gensel. And I love
the Gensel side personally. So
we have this function where you can rate, like everybody gets a vote on the trade once it's final and goes through. And 31 of the 42 votes have gone to Jake Gensel. 5 have gone to Timo Meier and 6 to Timo Meier and 5 have said it's even. So like extremely lopsided, especially when you consider that Timo Meier and Jake Gensel were not far apart in the ADP. And in fact, I think I'm trying to pull it up now. Cacouple.com, if you want to see our Cacouple ADP numbers. At the bottom, if you go to tools, our Cacouple ADP link is there, which I'm seeing all this while I load the link so that I can try and further underscore the point. So Timo Meier on the average went 20th overall. And Gensel, who, yes, remember, like was injured, went on average 37th overall. So that's like a crazy swing in public opinion based on a couple of days. And of course, it speaks to the start Gensel has had to and his health, of course, but it also speaks to how concerned everybody is and how some people are already pulling the plug on Timo Meier. And look, as you said, Elon, last year, one thing that we said was that even though things weren't going well for Timo Meier, we still felt like a lot of the underlying numbers were strong. And I can't say, like, through 2 games, we're not jumping to conclusions, but I can't say the same thing so far this year. One thing that's concerning, only 3 shots over 2 games. Timo Meier continues to play closer to 17 minutes in New Jersey versus the 19 he was used to playing in San Jose the couple past seasons. Also, the other thing about Meier is that he is not, you're looking for, now I'm looking for reasons. And I feel like this isn't something I thought of during the summer or would have said with such confidence or bravado or relevance. But just keep in mind, like, Timo Meier in San Jose was the only guy. In New Jersey, there are so many guys. And so I know, yeah, like New Jersey wants things to work out for Timo Meier, but if not, it's like they're fine. They're not worried about it. And Timo Meier isn't going to get infinite chances to just like, okay, yeah, keep going over and like playing an extra few minutes a night and just it'll come together. He doesn't have as much time to do that. So I still think, like, I voted the trade even between Meier and Gensel just because, like, I'm not gonna I don't like letting myself be swayed rightfully or wrongfully by like the very earliest season results. But yeah, seeing Timo Meier not show up on Jack Hughes' power play unit in the last game was a little concerning. Nico Hischier slows too, and we're not giving up on him though. And Elon, don't worry, they're gonna put Andre Palat on the line with Meier and Hischier to quote unquote get their offense going.
Oh, we're set.
Yeah, which is, by the way, another good stream for this week if you're looking. Listen to Elon's matchup maximizer from Saturday. He did a great job. So am I worried? Yeah. Just like not a ton, but enough to be starting to really consider if I would trade down for Jake Gensel.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, like, they lost their last game to Arizona for whatever it's worth. So maybe they changed the power plays. I don't know if we've seen updated power plays. We've seen the updated line combinations. But yeah, Hischier also, if he's not on the top power play, like, I want the guy on the top power play, right? And I guess it might take some time for things to settle. But you say we're not worried about Hischier. I'm a little worried about Hischier if he's not on the top power play. Not because that he has 0 points, but that would be a huge bump, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. And Lewis in the chat, Short Shift Lewis, shout out. Listen to Short Shift. It's coming out again.
Lewis. I like that.
Louis E. Easy. Okay, sorry. Like he said, like, through his time in his allied team chats, like during the draft, there was a lot of discussion about drafting. Like, you want to pick the guy on a team versus a guy, of many. And like my Philip Forsberg pick, which we've talked about a lot, was also like made with the same idea. Like you like a team star player. Timo Meier was more valuable as the guy in San Jose versus a guy in New Jersey. Even if you consider like a stronger supporting cast in New Jersey, it's not always a good thing for someone who is like a superstar, but not a first round superstar. So we'll see what like the next, Elon, next week, the narrative on Meier could have completely changed. We'll see, but it's something to at least keep an eye on. Like there are some flags.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm with you. In New Jersey, yeah, only plays twice next week, 2 off days. So like you said, maybe Palat is a good stream. And I'm very curious to see how things are going to shake out over there. Next up, another disappointment so far, the Edmonton Oilers. What is happening? They just got destroyed by Vancouver in the first game. Then they lost again in their second game, also against the Canucks. I mean, the big guns are still hitting. Like McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins all have 3 points in 2 games, which is like, fine. Like you expect even more, obviously, from McDavid and Draisaitl, but whatever. We can't. I'm not going to bug you. Like, are we worried about these two? Bouchard had a couple points. Like, it's fine. There are a couple guys though that I am a little bit concerned about. Evander Kane, no points in those 2 games. He's not on the top power play. Connor Brown, who's playing with McDavid, but no points in those 2 games. I'm just curious to know, like, obviously these are 2 different players. You all have 2 different answers. What's the concernometer if you drafted these guys? Like, maybe Connor Brown is someone you start to consider like dropping outright. Evander Kane, depending on your format, you start getting nervous. Like, yeah, he's hitting. He's not even taking that many shots. So I feel like I'd be a little bit worried about either of them. But of course, this is me trying to put a show together here and trying to have topics to talk about. It is still 2 games, so I don't want to get too crazy.
Yeah, we don't need to overreact, although Connor Brown is sort of in the same class to me as Adam Fantilli, as someone who you draft and you get excited about. But if they like, it's got to be a short leash, in my opinion. These are guys who, if they aren't producing right off the top of the season, Like you can't hold on waiting, depending again on the competition level of your league. You might not be able to wait. And we know Connor Brown isn't getting a sniff of the top power play either, which is different from Fantilli. Fantilli might. We also know that guys have played on the top line with Connor McDavid and not been able to produce. Now, I don't know that any of like the muckrakers the jobbers. The jobbers is the
what
word.
was the
I'm
first word you said? The muckrakers?
And then
Is
I was
that a
going to
term?
bushwhackers.
Okay.
It doesn't really apply. I was working towards jobbers, like the wrestling term. I think Brown is a step above the usual jobbers who have taken turns alongside McDavid in recent years, but especially with like the schedule, Elon, is like kind of merciless over the first few weeks. There's not a whole lot of teams playing a whole lot of off nights. So if Connor Brown is going to play one game for you over the next 2 weeks, and you like could use more games and maybe just some more lotto tickets from the free agent wire, then you might feel okay dropping him. As for Evander Kane, I mean, like he's still Evander Kane, right? He's at least he's doubled Connor Brown's shot output. He has 4 shots instead of 2. He has 9 hits. So he's still doing almost what you hope. I mean, without the points and without quite as many shots. So he's missing the mark in some ways, still hitting the mark in others. There's no actionable advice here yet, except Elon, like we could at least say, yes, rough start for Evander Kane. Let's assume that he's going to pick it up and become at least a 55-point player again with 3 or more shots a night plus 3 hits a night.
Yeah, let's see what these guys can do against not the Vancouver Canucks, because apparently they have the Oilers' number so far. In net, by the way, we can just throw it out there right now. It's a dead heat between Campbell and Skinner because they both sport a 0.750 save percentage at this point, which is like, what are the chances you'll have 2 goalies that are that bad? But here we are. The Oilers outshot Vancouver 40-16 yesterday, and they still lost. That's so yeah. Stuart Skinner led in 4 goals on 16 shots, and it was Casey DeSmith in net for Vancouver. Like Demko was ill, and still. So yeah, I don't know who the starter is.
I would argue DeSmith was ill in his performance.
He was ill, like in the 90s, like cool way to say it.
Yeah, like he had a license to ill.
Yeah. So I don't know. We could debate like who. Like, well, let's see who gets it. Probably Campbell gets the next starts, and Skinner just got destroyed. But at this point, it's hard to get too excited. I think you still want I know, again, like this is the time where maybe you get like a really good steal, and I think you want the Oilers starter. I don't know who it is. I don't even want to get into it. I think Campbell gets the next start and we go from there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've thought of trading. I have a lot of guys on the bench in like what's been a very busy, like I said, this loaded schedule. And I've been considering trading the guys at the bottom of my bench for one of the Oilers goalies or both, and just like see if I can wait. By the way, can I share a little trading tip that I'm trying out this season?
Would love to. You're going to give away your secret sauce, but I guess it's our job.
No, it's actually just to look for targets, because like finding trade targets, like I know I've already advertised in tier 4 Jokerit. Like I know I want I'm looking for a goalie or defenseman. I have a pretty good slate of forwards, I think, but I could use a defenseman or goalie, and I know I'm being realistic about what I'm giving up. And so when I'm looking for my list of targets, I'm actually going to Yahoo and I'm like clicking like just show me defensemen, all taken players, and then I'm sorting by percent rostered but ascending. So like starting with the lowest rostered but rostered player in my league. Does that make sense? Like it's taken in my division, and then working my way down the list. Instead of starting at the top of the best guys, I'm starting at the bottom. And I feel like that's I don't know, little thing I'm trying out. And I hope that might be a helpful tip for anyone trying to find, because we get a lot of questions like, who do you think I could get for this guy, or who should I try? Like this is what I need. Try looking for the least rostered player that is rostered in your division, because maybe there's not going to be too much of an attachment to him, and rightfully so.
There's also the chance that if you just wait, that player might get dropped.
Well, yes, that's another thing you can do. Part of the calculus.
Brian, is Mackenzie Blackwood out there for you? He just had the most insane night yesterday.
I actually don't know. Like this is a demonstration of my belief or lack of in Mackenzie. He is.
I mean, if you need a goalie anyway, the guy who just made 50 saves against Colorado, maybe just grab him for free.
Carolina and Boston coming up.
A lot of chances to make saves.
Do you want to? Well, I have some other people in my division who are definitely like, I think, listening live.
Okay. Sorry to blow you up. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not, definitely don't take this as me saying Mackenzie Blackwood is like not going to be super risky every single time you play him. But I'm saying if you need a goalie, he's a hot goalie right now.
I need a goalie. It's not like thank you, Elon. I'm gonna chew that over. Huh.
Okay. All
Huh.
right. So, well,
Cam Fowler or Mackenzie Blackwood?
I mean, definitely not Fowler.
Yeah.
So that's easy.
Yeah. Well, I can't drop Fowler until I'm sure. Oh, he's locked. He's locked for the night. Okay.
Wake up at 3 a.m. tomorrow. Make the move.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
because everyone's gonna be racing for Blackwood now.
I mean, it was a pretty good game. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to the Vancouver side of that Edmonton-Vancouver debacle. So Elias Pettersson is very, very good. 6 points in 2 games. Seems like last season was for real. I don't know how many people had concerns, but he's very good. And the other person that's maybe a little bit more relevant, but at this point, maybe you probably can't get him, and he's been covered to death on short shifts already, but Brock Besser, he chipped in an assist to go with his 4 goals in the first game. So like Brock Besser is interesting to me because usually like I mention a player's stats and I want to throw a question to you, Brian. I couldn't decide whether to ask you, is now like a good time to buy like low on Besser because maybe people still aren't, he was drafted super late in leagues. And so maybe like, the way you said, like, I'm not yet going to say that Gensel's better than Meyer when Gensel was drafted like so far below Timo Meyer, so maybe the same type of thing happens with these best or drafters who are like, well, if I could get someone who was drafted like 50 places above. So on that point, you could say like, oh, time to buy low, or you can be the flip and be like, is it time to sell high on Brock Besser because he's having this incredible start and there's no way he'll keep it up. I will just say Besser's getting the primo deployment. He's playing with the guys. He's playing with JT Miller. He's on the top power play. I mean, it's hard not to like him right now and not to expect. And he's a guy who at one point we thought could be like a 35, 40 goal scorer. And he's also like Merzlikins. He's dealt with a lot of stuff, injuries, personal stuff. Maybe it's also like a situation where he's finally just got his head right and ready to go. Great start for Besser.
Yeah, Besser should be in the prime of his career. But like for the reasons you said, Elon, it feels like those prime years have been derailed. He's 26 years old. This is age 26 season. He's a February baby. And there's just been enough moments in his career where like a coach hasn't liked him or he hasn't things have just like morale's been low or he's had these personal things. So something definitely to think about. And 9 shots through 2 games is really promising for Besser. Even if he hadn't scored on 4 of them, like let's say Besser had scored on 1 of them, which would actually be more in line with his career shooting percentage to date, that would be cool with me. Like that would still be, I am raising an eyebrow about what I can expect to see from Brock Besser. And so far, so good. Yeah, obviously the shot rates are up. They seem to be good shots that he's taking at all strength. He has this power play opportunity too. I was able to add him post draft in one of my leagues. I'm feeling really good about it. And Elon, I'd like to think like we've been fooled before, but as you said, we can't make any really great long term projection based on the data we have yet. But I'm optimistic. Like Brock Besser's a guy who I've always wanted to succeed. He's always seemed to have the stuff. It's just been a couple like low years, and like he still had the 61 point pace last season, but we've seen him in the 65 to 75 point range. And if he keeps this up, he's going to end up back there.
Okay. Also, a small thing to watch. I don't think it's anything on Vancouver. Kuzmenko was out for the power play to start the 3rd period of the last game, but his only wait, what am I saying here? Sorry. Okay, one other thing I'll just mention that seems like it's probably nothing, but like Kuzmenko didn't play much in the 3rd period of the last game. I think it had to do with illness and not like him being benched or something, though it's just like it triggers like last year. Remember when Kuzmenko was getting benched a lot? So probably just this viral infection going around that kept Demko out of the game. Kuzmenko has scored a power play goal on his only shot of the game yesterday. So again, he's a guy who had a super high shooting percentage last year. So a lot of people thought he's due to regress. I guess I don't know. Once again, now 1 for 1. So he's starting the season off with a high shooting percentage. Once again, we'll see if he'll be able to keep it up. Great spot, obviously, with Pettersson. So maybe he'll regress a bit, but it's hard to expect him to regress too much as long as he's like sticks on that line in power play.
Yeah, great. Like with Kuzmenko, it's all about deployment, right? So long as he doesn't get sent out, like banished to the 4th line again, we're in good shape. And the way Elias Pettersson is going, yeah, I want the guy who's playing with Pettersson, especially if the guy playing with Pettersson and Kuzmenko has shown himself to be quite talented himself.
All right, so Brian, next up, I've got a few injuries to throw at you. Okay, some of them injuries with like unknown timelines. Shams is here in the chat, I think, or is he? I just always assume he is. Shams messaged before, so he'll let us know if there's an update that we haven't seen yet. So we're gonna get to those injuries, and that will be the end of part 1. Then we're going to stop. We're going to do part two. I'm just giving you guys the plan for the future. But yes, we've got our injury talk coming up. And then in the second half of the show, in part two, we're going to talk all about hot streaks and cold streaks. There's a lot of really exciting ones. So stick with us. All right, we are back, Brian, to talk injuries that we don't know anything about yet. Starting with Pavel Buchnevich. He left the last game for St. Louis with an upper body injury. Like, theoretically, this could be good if it's not serious, because St. Louis doesn't play again until Thursday. So it'd be actually really handy for people to be able to stash him and then get him back on Thursday. But also it's possible that Buchnevich is out super long term, which would super suck. So I don't know really what to tell people, but it looks like Saad took over on the top line with Kyrou and Thomas for the rest of that game for St. Louis. Something to watch. That might have just been a temporary thing. Watch those lines at game day tweets. Obviously, you're going to want the top line, top power play guy that replaces Buchnevich for any time that Buchnevich misses. And since I'm on St. Louis, I hate to do it, but I got to do it. Jordan Binnington has looked really good so far. Only one goal assist in each of his games versus Dallas and Seattle.
Ready to fool us again.
Well, hey, if he's a free agent right now, I would grab him. I would take him actually over Merzlikins. Yeah.
Why?
I just like Binnington has had more success in the past, I guess, than Merzlikins. And I don't know. I always kind of like St. Louis. I know everyone says now that St. Louis isn't that good, but they have, I don't know. You know how much I like Sammy Blais. So maybe I'm just biased by that. But like
Sammy Blais going to carry that. He's going to step up in the absence of Buchnevich, go point per game and watch win games for Jordan Binnington. Play defense too.
I don't know why. It's just a feeling. I just feel like Binnington is like a fun bet where like you get him super cheap right now. And there's been times when he was like a top 10 goalie in fantasy, you know, like Merzlikins hasn't gotten to that point yet, but who knows comparing goalies.
Yeah, I know. I've been on the record as believing in Binnington for too long, and I've sort of given up because we need to see some measure of consistency, and we know he's mercurial, right? Like even last year, I think I can't remember if I had him all season in some leagues. I know some leagues I had him all season. It's like a value pick. Some leagues I was picking up and dropping him a lot, but it was like 3 good games and 3 terrible games. You just had to ride the roller coaster and hope those good games came when you needed them.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I won't waste time also speculating like who's going to get the spots in St. Louis. Like Kevin Hayes has done nothing so far. I wonder if maybe he could get a bump on a power play or something and do something, but I'm not banking on it. Okay. Minnesota next. And this is a bad one. Matt Boldy got hurt, and beat writer Michael Russo said it didn't look good. Of course, they said the same thing about Taylor Hall, and he's coming back tomorrow. But I don't know. Obviously, really disappointing for anyone who has Boldy. Obviously, disappointing for Minnesota. I didn't see who took his spot on the top power play in that 7-4 loss to Toronto. Looks like they didn't get another power play after he got hurt. And you don't really, I feel like he's the straw that stirs the drink on his line. Like, I mean, Joel Eriksson Ek is good, but it's like Ek, Johansson, and Boldy. So it's not like I'm saying like, oh, rush to grab the person who's now playing with Joel Eriksson Ek and Johansson, right? So it's really that power play that you're going to have to watch out for. I wonder, I'll throw a name out there just for fun. I wonder if they gave Marco Rossi a shot on that top power play. He just scored his first career goal yesterday, took 5 shots. There's an opening. I don't know. Something to watch for. I would definitely be into Rossi if he gets a spot on the top power play. So let's watch and see what happens there.
Rossi's not someone that the organization has given up on, even though it looks like it, based on the fact that since Rossi came into the league, he's barely played, right? He was supposed to come show up and then got long COVID, had to miss a lot of time, threw off his entire development. There's a lot of reasons to think that Marco Rossi could still be the guy we thought he would be when he was drafted 9th overall back in 2020. And I remember he kept falling, and everyone was like, oh, Minnesota got a steal here. Wow, this is crazy. And I just think we needed to adjust his development curve and hope that what he lost wasn't so of course it's valuable time, but isn't going to be the difference between him being the player we hoped he would be and not being able to come close to that potential. So Elon, it seems to me, and I thought I read some quotes heading into camp this year, that the Wild want Rossi to step up when he's ready and when they think he's ready. And I'm curious to know if that moment is now. And I'm looking at the roster, you could throw, I don't know, a Freddie Gaudreau.
Well, probably the most likely, I should say, is
Ryan
Hartman, right?
Yeah,
he's been there before.
Yeah, there's some other guys who they could try out there and see what happens. But it would be fun to see Marco Rossi get a chance. I'm not sure, but yeah, 7 shots over his first 2 games in just averaging 12.5 minutes of ice time. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, but I do want to be a good quote unquote journalist here and say it would be more fun for Rossi, but probably it's Ryan Hartman, and probably if Hartman's a free agent now, you want him because he's probably going to be top power play and he's already on the top line with Kaprizov. So that's the boring but chalk pick there. And I'm just curious to see if they give Rossi a chance at some point. I'll throw out another name of a young, exciting player, Brock Faber, playing huge minutes with Spurgeon out of the lineup. He's had the most minutes on the team, only behind Brodin. So like throwing to the Wolves, that usually doesn't happen for a rookie. And like Faber has produced a goal and assist in his 2 games. So point per game. He's taken some shots, 3 hits, 3 blocks in the 2 games. So I don't know exactly like where this is going to go, but maybe someone to watch. Like he doesn't get power play time. So that's a problem, but definitely someone who could be good for peripherals and maybe a point here and there. Just throwing out that name, Brock Faber.
Yeah, first year pro, first year out of college, and former 45th overall pick of the LA Kings came over. I think it was in the Kevin Fiala deal, and a Minnesota native. So maybe that's part of the reason. He's 21 years old, and I mean, has had good college numbers, but we don't usually see a player come straight out of college. I think that sort of pipeline trend is changing, though. Like there's better college players and better college programs, but it is rare that we see someone come straight out of college and have a fantasy impact or an NHL impact, either one of the two. He also wears glasses in his profile picture, which I think is cool. And I'm just going to toss that in there for, so Brock Faber. Yeah, sure. That's all, Elon, because I agree with you. I'm glad you brought him up as someone to look for if you are looking to fill that like 6th, 5th, or even 4th D spot. Just anyone munching minutes like Faber is someone to at least put on your watch list.
Okay, next injury. By the way, we're still I haven't seen Shan's in the chat lately. If anyone wants to has an update on any of these injuries to throw at us that we haven't seen yet, we've been recording the show for the past hour and a bit. So, but yeah, let us know. Kirby Dach left the game for the Habs with a lower body injury. Too bad because he had a good first game for the Habs. It looks like Jake Evans took a spot on the line with Newhook and Slavkovsky, which I guess is the second line for Montreal. Also, I don't think there were more power plays. We don't know who's taking Kirby Dach's spot on the power play, which, by the way, had been Dach, Caulfield, Suzuki, and Sean Monahan. And then, of course, Matheson. So we'll see who takes that spot. I don't even want to speculate. It might not even be worth it to grab the person who takes that spot regardless. I asked you, I think on the last show, Brian, I mentioned Caulfield and Suzuki. I was like, who's the third forward you want on Montreal? I think you said Dach. So now Doc's injured. So now I'm going to throw the question to you again. You can't pick him because he's injured. Some options. Okay, Alex Newhook, who came from Colorado, 2 goals in his first game. Nothing in his second game. Sean Monahan had a goal and an assist yesterday and is on the top power play, but he's in the bottom 6. So he's kind of like the Nick Paul of Montreal. Josh Anderson on the top line. He had an assist so far in 2 games and 4 shots. Slavkovsky has an assist. Did you know that Tanner Pearson is on Montreal? TIL. He scored a goal. So that's good. So there are some options for you. You could go off the board. You could go with your longtime favorite. I'm actually forgetting his name right now. Who's that guy on Montreal that you used to love so much?
Sean Monahan?
No. He's been on Montreal for a long time. Brendan Gallagher. See, we all forget about Brendan Gallagher.
He hasn't been the guy. He hasn't been a guy of mine for a while. I've left him behind.
It's a fun old school reference for keeping Karlsson.
Yeah. Real ones, no. Caden Gooley is a defenseman.
I meant forwards.
Yeah, which sort of answers the question, right? I'm just looking for who has the most shots. So it's Gooley. Gooley leads all Habs with 7 shots through 2 games. Next is Monahan with 6 shots, and he's also playing some of the higher minutes amongst forwards who aren't Nick Suzuki. He's actually averaging more minutes than Cole Caulfield. So for that reason, Elon, I'm going Shanahan Monahan.
Okay, fair enough. And
I see in the chat, and my initial instinct was also Raphael Harvey Pinard. He's who I would have said on draft day. And Elon, I thought I did. Maybe
you did say RHP.
Yeah. Because Pinard has 2 assists in 2 games. No power play time to speak of, which is of course the concern. And also at 5-on-5 last game, he was playing mostly with Jesse Ylonen and Jake Evans. So not a great spot to produce from, but Harvey Pinard just seems with Montreal, you're throwing darts, and Harvey Pinard has just randomly gone off enough times that yes, I will try him in lieu of there being another obvious option. But Elon, I still think I would take Sean Monahan ahead of the rest.
Okay, fair enough. But probably it sounds like you're saying just look to another team because there's no rule in fantasy that you have to take a Habs player.
Yeah.
There is a rule for our friend John Reed that you have to take a Sharks player. But most people don't play in leagues with rules like that. Okay, by the way, I'll just mention a nice game for Montembeault in the win over Chicago yesterday after Jake Allen wasn't as good versus Toronto. To be fair, there's a bit of a difference between Toronto and Chicago, even though Chicago has Bedard. But I think Montembeault's probably their starter now. I think we said that in the last show anyways, and he looked good. So seems like he's a guy. He seems like he's an NHL goalie, like for a really not great team. But Brian, is he available for you? Actually, you need a goalie. I think he's another guy I would take a look at.
Even if he was, I feel like he's more likely to just alternate time. And it's funny that you said like he looks like an NHL player because he is available, by the way. He hasn't been. He like Montembeault. How old is he? Let me bring up his age.
I'm gonna guess like late 20s, like 29 or something, 28.
Not cool. He's 26. But he's been around, and I think like wasn't it like he was bad with Florida. Like he was like an 890-ish goalie. Yeah, when he was a little baby before the pandemic. And then with the Habs, like the rumor was that like he only got the job because he was connected to Dominic Ducharme, who's no longer there. But like he was like Ducharme's goalie in the QMJHL with Blainville, Boisbriand, the Armada. So I don't know, Elon, if Montembeault is becoming, like I do subscribe mostly to the goalies don't improve mantra. So we'll see.
Even from when they're 24?
Yeah. Come on. Like I think it's goalies get new opportunities, but I don't know that they improve. So maybe they just haven't had a chance to show it fully. We'll see with Montembeault. He's had 2 like half seasons in the last couple of years to prove that he is a below average NHL goalie, but Jake Allen is not making much of a case. I could see them just going back and forth for a while.
Okay. I guess for this one, we don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to discuss further. I'll agree to disagree. I think Montembeault's going to get a lot more starts than Allen moving forward, but we'll see. Yeah. Matt is saying in the chat here, you should check the goals saved above average or goals saved above expected for Montembeault last year because he was actually really good. And that's what I was reading on Twitter also, that he had a good season. So just throwing that out there from Matt as we move on to our next injury. You could look that up.
No, I'm gonna look it up now.
You could do it so fast. Wow.
I actually remember seeing this towards the end of the season for Montembeault. Yeah, he was really good last year.
I guess he has improved.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like that mantra. It makes no sense to me. Like, how can a professional not improve? Like, you train differently. You learn new techniques.
Well, that's the thing. But it was one. Obviously, when like everyone's still trying to figure out what to do about goalies, and this was a trend that someone identified once upon a time. And I don't know. I feel like I haven't been proven wrong by it so often.
Linus Ullmark seems to have improved from early in his career. I don't know. I could probably think of other examples if I think hard enough. Didn't Markstrom start as like
a team in front of Ullmark?
That's true. What about Markstrom? Wasn't he like not that good for a while, and then he became an all-star late in his career?
I think he was never like similar.
Everyone, you're gonna have an answer. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to. I'm not gonna be able to.
You know what? I'm open-minded on Montembeault. I'm more concerned about. Well, no. Yeah, I think I like Montreal and San Jose both likely to get shelled. But if I'm thinking about Montembeault versus Blackwood, which I'm just going to assume you asked me, Blackwood seems less likely to have to share the net than Montembeault.
Yeah, so I'm going through the teams in my head. Nashville, New Jersey. Okay, I can't think of someone off the top of my head, but I'll come back to you with a goalie that's improved at some point. I'll try at least.
Patty's brought up Tim Thomas.
Oh yeah, where was he even before he was in his?
Well, that's it. Like, what happened with Tim? Like, I forget the Tim Thomas story by now.
But that's like also you'll probably say just opportunity. He finally got the chance. Okay,
yeah.
Let's go to the next injury. Okay. Oh, sorry. Was that? Okay. Next injury, Steven Stamkos. What's the deal with him? He's not playing today. Day to day with a lower body injury. So just day to day. No big deal. The Lightning seem to be not as good a team without Steven Stamkos. They're losing right now to Ottawa 3-2. And it looks like Korpisalo's only had to face 13 shots through 2 periods. He's let in 2 goals, of course.
He's let in 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Korpisalo is a goalie that's maybe proving your point that goalies haven't improved. And he had a good stretch last year, but not looking so good for Ottawa. And Forsberg did pretty good. I guess he didn't face too many shots yesterday versus Philly, but Forsberg, I guess, was able to pull out the win. We'll see. But Ottawa's winning right now. So maybe it'll be the same for Korpisalo as we're 1 period away from the end of the game. It's 3-2 Ottawa right now at the time of recording. What was I going to talk about? Oh, yeah, Steven Stamkos. He's hurt. Without him, the lines for Tampa look like this is not a Stanley Cup contending team. Like you've got Kucherov, Point, and Hagel sticking on the top line. And then Cirelli, Jeannot, and Asimont, and like Sherry, Nick Paul, and Alex Barré-Boulet. Yeah, so it's like kind of nobody's. It's too bad. Nick Paul's been on the top power play the whole season. Now Brandon Hagel there today in the absence of Stamkos. Nick Paul, by the way, had that huge first game with the 2 goals and 1 assist. Nothing so far today. Nothing in Tampa's second game also. So probably flash in the pan. Would you agree with that? Anyone who jumped to Nick Paul, you could probably move on at this point.
Yeah.
Well, he's still going to be on top power play though, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, so that's it. Like and we're still gonna, I think, see points. Like Elon, we just finished with Alex Killorn in Tampa, right? And it being someone who can produce on the top power play, but wasn't always in a place to do it 5-on-5. And a part of me is like, is Nick Paul the new Alex Killorn, who like in recent years has been more rosterable than the earlier part of his career. But I also do just wonder how consistently happy you will be to have Nick Paul on your roster, just hoping for that power play goal opportunity. Started off really strong, but to me, I don't see that as a reason to hold on for a whole lot longer. Like, hey, you made a great move early in your fantasy season. Good for you. He's not someone that I would feel like you want to get too attached to.
Okay, fair enough. I'm looking at the career stats of Andrei Vasilevsky. Oh, yeah, he was pretty good from the start. Okay. Can't stump you, Brian. Let's move on to was there anything else I wanted to mention about Tampa Bay? I don't think so. Okay. Next injury here. Let's talk about Chicago. This is a fake injury. Taylor Hall, they said he was week to week. Now apparently he's going to be back tomorrow. He has super healing abilities. So we can forget about Taylor Radish line 1 that lasted for only 1 game. Do we want to read anything into Tyler Johnson's 2 goals yesterday? That's pretty exciting. Connor Bedard, by the way, we haven't talked about him really yet since the season started. They've talked about him on short shifts. He's very, very good. He has a point in each game so far, 5, 6, and 5 shots. I think Bedard is looking like someone that should have been drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round of Cupful, if not even higher. We'll see, what if he can keep it up. It's only 3 games, but it's pretty rare to find someone that can consistently shoot 5+ shots per game. And Brian, as far as your adage from before goes, if you want to draft like the guy, there's no more the guy in the league than Bedard. The whole team just kind of runs around him, it seems like. Now he's going to get Taylor Hall back, so that'll be helpful for him. Anyways, I wanted to ask you about Tyler Johnson, and also I'll throw in Ryan Donato, still sticking on that top line, top power play, and he has 2 points in 3 games. Very good. So I assume we're happy with Donato. If you grabbed him, you're still holding on. And Tyler Johnson, Brian, he scored 2 goals. Pretty good. Is it worth adding?
Well, I feel like Tyler Johnson's 2 goals are a lot like Nick Paul's 2 goals. Like, that's great. Mm-hmm. It happened. Although Tyler Johnson has put 8 shots on net, which, like, it's been a long time since Tyler Johnson has had 8 shots over 2 game span. In fact, like, I'm not going to go looking, but it might take me a while if I was looking. Keeping right up there with Ryan Donato, who plays 3 minutes more per night and still has 8 shots over 3 games. Sorry, I said 8 shots over 2 games for Johnson, but it's over 3. But the point still stands. Like, I don't think it's often that Johnson has shot so much. So yeah, I think he works his way into the conversation a little bit if you're looking for a deep cut stream, like a one-off game this Monday. Perhaps we'll keep watching to see what Tyler Johnson's going to do. But of course, Bedard, Hall, and Donato are still the 3 Chicago players that I'm most interested in rostering up front. Then you have Seth Jones, and Corey Berry has 3 points, right? That's pretty good. So I don't know if that keeps up, but he's on the top unit with Bedard. He's like top power play with Bedard. He's like nowhere at 5-on-5. That's particularly interesting. While Tyler Johnson is on what appears as a second line with Reichel and Athanasiou. So like, there's a lot of guys here, Elon. But to me, I think Bedard, Hall, and Donato still stand different degrees above the rest of the players.
Okay, that's good. And I'll mention also, this is going to be another one where, don't get mad at me, Brian, but I'll throw it out there. Petr Mrazek has had 2 straight good games so far, a .934 save percentage. This is Petr Mrazek. He's known to get injured all the time and blow up, but maybe this is going to be an okay season for him. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for saves at the very least. Is he available in your league, Brian, in this league where you need a goalie? Petr Mrazek?
Every time you look, you ask me, like, I love the thinking you're doing for me. I think I do not believe Mrazek is available. We've like, it's funny, like, cause like I believed in Mrazek for a very long time before giving up on him. And we've had these moments where he plays really well. And then, well, I don't know, we'll find out. It's not like, the backup option, Soderblom, is going to be like a whole lot of awesome in Chicago, right? Like, he doesn't seem like a really imminent threat. So if Mrazek can play well enough, the funny thing is Chicago's like doesn't really want to win yet. So
yeah, but Bedard's going to make them win. It doesn't matter what they want to do. Bedard wants to win.
Bedard, Tyler Johnson, and Petr Mrazek. They're here to take over the NHL.
I mean, they have Taylor Hall. They have your guy Donato. I mean, that's the thing. It's like a team builds the team. They clearly built this team to not win, right? They didn't sign Corey Perry and Nick Foligno because they thought this is going to be a winning formula. But now it's up to the team on the ice, and I think they're going to try their best, right? That's how it goes. So we'll see. But they probably won't win. But Mrazek is someone, if you need a goalie, like if you're in Brian's situation where you're trying to sort all the goalies rostered by the lowest percent rostered to find like someone who might be in target, take a look and see if Mrazek's for free. Then you try him out, especially if your league counts saves. Maybe not so much in a league that has goals against average.
Definitely for volume. And like, I think Mrazek remains like a one game at a time kind of stream.
Okay, one last injury. Victor Arvidsson out for a little while still, so that's too bad. I could tell you the lines on LA, but the thing was Kaliev was suspended, and he's going to be back for the next game. But since then, this guy Alex Laferriere has come in, and everyone's talking about how well he's been playing. So I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe look out for Kaliev coming back from suspension and see where he's going to line up, because if he's playing with Fiala and Dubois, that should be good. Though it is worth pointing out that Pierre-Luc Dubois has no points in 2 games. So, Brian, should we be, I guess, just like I asked about some of those other guys earlier on, Evander Kane, Connor Brown, whatever. I guess I have to put Dubois in the same conversation. At what point do we start getting nervous about him?
Not yet. Like, I feel like Dubois, though, is someone that gets this question asked of him a lot. Like,
and isn't he now kind of like a Timo Meier? Like, he's not the guy anymore. There's a lot of good guys.
But he
LA.
wasn't the guy in Winnipeg either. So like that doesn't concern me a whole lot. Like but LA definitely has their way of spreading things out, and we've had moments where we're like, is Fiala ever going to be good again? Is Kopitar's Kempe? Like, I feel like LA take turns getting cold, and Dubois has always been a guy who at least feels like he's run hot and cold. So I like what I'm seeing so far with power play time. Like LA has had, by the way, crazy. Like Dubois already played about 12 minutes on the power play with nothing to show for it. And I think that's one of the reasons he's playing 12 minutes is because LA is getting so many opportunities and not cashing in very quickly. But 5 shots over 2 games. He's seeing like the ice a reasonable amount. I guess I'm not getting too upset or worried about Pierre-Luc Dubois. Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, we'll bring him up next week, maybe, if he's still pointless. Hopefully he won't be by then. All right, Brian, that's it for our injury talk. That takes us to the end of part 1 of this mega episode of Keeping Karlsson. I got a ton more hot and cold streaks. Obviously, we sprinkled in a few hot and cold streaks as we went so far with the headlines and the injuries, but we got a lot more. So stay tuned. If you're subscribed to Keeping Karlsson on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, then just take a look for the next one, and it should already be there. Okay, so hope you're subscribed, and looking forward to talking to you some more.
If you don't listen to the next one, just skip to the end so you can hear the credits.
Okay, yeah. You're going to want to probably listen just to the start, where we're going to talk about Evan Rodriguez and how insane he's been. And Brian's going to talk about whether or not he's worth dropping someone good for. So that'll be very exciting. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right, this means it's the return of the NPR voice, which I don't even really love that gimmick, but people seem to like it.
So I think you need to either commit to it.
And I'm doing it.
But like, I think... Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's
you don't like it.
I find it just a little like
stupid.
Didn't we say you would come in with like another word? Like another
what is it?
Yes. Like, okay.
I could do let's go.
Let's go.
I use that to start matchup maximizer. I like it.
Okay. All right. Try it out.
I'm just gonna do the NPR voice. I don't know.
Oh. Okay, but if you're gonna do the NPR voice, you have to do it without like the disclaimer that you don't love it.
Okay, starting now, I'm gonna do it.
You have to do it. If you're doing it, it has to be unabashedly.
Okay. It is 9:10 p.m. on Sunday, October 15th, and we are here to record the second part of this mega episode of Keeping Karlsson, the first of the 2023-24 regular season. I am your host, Dylan Dubrovsky. With me is Brian Comm, and we've got so much still to talk about. We've been talking for an hour and 10 minutes, Brian. We were saying we were going to try to do this whole thing in an hour and a half. What were we thinking? There was no chance. I got so many hot streaks and cold streaks. Let's burn through as many as we can. But Brian, how are you feeling after that monster first half of the show?
Feeling great. There's so much. Like I was just looking at the players we've already covered, and that is like 2 like mid late season episodes worth of guys. So like this is a quantity breadth episode with hopefully the right amount of depth too. So let's keep rolling. Hot and cold streaks. Who are we starting with? I already know.
Yeah, we're going. You already know. We're going to Florida. We're going to talk about Evan Rodriguez, who didn't do much in the first game versus Minnesota, but he did have 4 shots. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, he was on the top power play. Oh, that's interesting too. Well, it all came together against Winnipeg on Saturday. 2 goals, 2 assists with 5 shots, playing with Barkov at even strength, playing with all the guys on the top power play. Come on. Evan Rodriguez must add ASAP. Is there even a question at this point? Yeah.
No, it's pause the pod, which means like maybe we should have brought him up a lot sooner because of all the guys we've talked about. He's like the most exciting, likely free agent in your league. So yeah, pause, add. I guess the thing you're looking for is to find is Sam Bennett's return, right? Because that'll shake the lines up. And do we have the latest on that, Elon?
I heard that it's like not going to be long, but also like looking at the lines, I'm pretty sure Sam Bennett is going to take that A2 Luosterainen spot, centering Matthew Tkachuk. So I think that he gets in that. So even strength, I don't see a reason why Evan Rodriguez gets moved. Top power play. Yeah, I guess he could bump Sam. Yeah, it's Sam Reinhart, I guess, who sometimes isn't on there. But it could also be Sam Bennett, who sometimes isn't on there. So maybe Bennett just comes back and goes to power play too, especially if Florida's coming off a big win. So I think we'll have to watch and see. But regardless, if Rodriguez is a free agent, we'll just get him and worry about it later, right?
Yes, I concur. Like, yeah, you got to just go for it. This is one of those moments. Like if you were going for Zach Benson before the season started, you go for Rodriguez here. Elon, I don't see you have any other Florida players, so I just thought we could at least recap the early which defenseman should I have added? And the answer is none of them are really standing out, but Ekman-Larsson is clearly the top power play choice and has 7 shots over 2 games and is actually averaging 26 and a half minutes of ice per night. Which is wild. Like he's basically played that amount for 2 consecutive games. We haven't seen these kinds of minutes for Ekman-Larsson since all the way back in, 2013-14, which was his 4th season in the league, back when the Coyotes were still called the Phoenix Coyotes and not the Arizona Coyotes. So it's been a long time since Ekman-Larsson has been leaned on this much. And it's pretty interesting to see. I'm actually I didn't think to look up his, I was looking up his shot attempt share, just to see, and it's good while he's on the ice. So that's really interesting.
Throw a trade offer to the Ekman-Larsson manager who's frustrated that he has no points so far.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian, you need defense. That's what you should go for.
No, sorry. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a temporary fix, but it's a fix for, it could be one temporarily at least. And then the guy who you might have drafted, but you should let go of is Gustav Forsling, who is still playing huge minutes, averaging 24 minutes a night, but has just 2 shots over 2 games, 3 blocks, and is decidedly on the second power play unit.
Brian, I just have to say, I agree with you, by the way. Yeah, let go of Forsling. Schwab Squad is saying in the chat here, moment of silence for Ronta streamers. It's currently 3-0 Anaheim over Carolina. Not even done the first period.
That's classic Carolina.
Yeah. Ronta's so I've had times in the past where I've streamed in Ronta for a game and regretted it. I can't recall a time I've streamed in Ronta and it worked out for me. I don't know. I like to stay away from him for whatever reason.
Did you see who scored the 3rd goal?
I was about to say, I've got my top prospect in my dynasty league, so I have to be excited. Pavel Mintyukov.
Oh my
gosh.
Welcome to the NHL. By the way, we have waited. So Anaheim scored 1 goal, right, in their season debut against Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
Who do you remember who scored it?
No.
It was nobody, right? Was it Jamie Drysdale?
I don't know.
Trying to I'm just looking at their goal scorers tonight. Sam Carrick, Frank Vetrano, and Pavel Mintyukov, which is great. But there's no Troy Terry anywhere to be seen on the score sheet. No Zegras, no Henrique. So it was Mason McTavish from Drysdale and Strome. So okay, that is kind of an interesting name. But we'll see when those guys finally start showing up for Anaheim, now that they have scored thrice in a period on the second half of a back-to-back against Antti Ranta and Carolina on 11. They're shooting Carolina 11-6. How about that?
Man. Brian, you're making me feel bad about this, the Stars not getting points. We're going to get it. Let me just get into it now. Because, you're mentioning Troy Terry. and Zegras not doing anything. I have Troy Terry on my couple team. Basically, all the stars on my couple team this past week did nothing, including, I'll just jump to it right now in our notes here. Tage Thompson, okay, 2 games, nothing. Maybe you could say he was against Shostyorkin and Sorokin in those 2 games, but like, still, please, come on. You're supposed to be my 4-goal a game guy here. You're supposed to be my Brock Besser, and instead you're being like my, I don't know, who's the guy on Vancouver who never got goals. I should have Henrik Sedin.
Connor Garland.
Connor Garland. Okay, yeah. Also, like the whole line on Buffalo, to throw it out there, Skinner, Tuck, like just no one's getting any goals. The only people who are getting goals is Middlestat and Benson, actually. Well, Benson's getting assists. So that's what's going on in Buffalo. Should I be concerned? I hope you're going to say no, right? No reason to be concerned with that top line. We could just throw it all to like they played 2 really good defensive teams with 2 amazing goalies, and next week Buffalo's going to totally go off.
Okay, sure. Like, yeah, I'll go with that. Well, I'm looking at their 5-on-5 expected goals for, and the Sabres are not anywhere near the top of the list. In fact, they rank 31st in the league right now in expected goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. So that's nothing's really concerning, Elon, because like this is early season days and we have just 2 games of sample. Last season, Tage Thompson started slow also, and I don't think it's the right time. Like, yes, it's frustrating, especially when you need in your first week to win and you're watching everybody else stars be their stars, and Tage Thompson isn't doing that for you. I get it. But hang on, because I mean the what we've been talking about Tage Thompson for basically a calendar year now was he started slow and then he produced at a 105-point pace for the final 70 games of the season.
Okay, I'm excited. I lost week 1, but it's just because Tage Thompson is saving it all up to win me the weeks 2 through 10. We'll see. And yeah, obviously also bad for the people who have Skinner and Tuck and Cousins. So good luck to everyone when the Sabres bounce back from all of that. I'll throw another cold streak at you. Oh, actually, since we're on Buffalo, I wanted to mention Devin Levi. 2 losses with sub 900 save percentage so far, but he did get both of the games. It's kind of up to, I don't even want to ask you because who knows? I'll just throw it to the listener. When I say you, I mean you, the listener. It's up to you to decide if it's a buy low time or a cut bait time. For me, I would hold or like try to get him now for cheap because I still believe in him. But yeah, obviously this hasn't been the start for Buffalo that a lot of people were expecting.
He's a goalie that I considered tossing an offer to a 4. But
Yeah.
it would be a chance that you're taking. And of course, I think he was overdrafted or reached for Devin Levi early just for the excitement around him, around Buffalo. And I think there's a pretty good chance that he still is good and he's still around while Buffalo is good. But if they don't turn it around within the next handful of games, then I think they'll really consider the Sabres about where Levi is going to spend the majority of his season. The thing is that I think their other goaltending options are still pretty far. And I half wonder, Elon, if it's like a Marc-Andre Fleury rookie situation where like he's playing for a team that's going to be really bad, or sorry, Marc-Andre Fleury was playing for the team that's going to be really bad, nothing expected, and they're burning his ELC, whatever, because one day he's going to be the face of the franchise and the franchise goaltender. And that's I guess if you're holding Devin Levi, that's what you're hoping is the case.
Yeah. But I mean, Buffalo's supposed to be good this year. So we'll see. I guess I want to give it another week or 2 and then reassess about all these people. Zach Benson, by the way, though, who like was the hot stuff in preseason. And then when we saw that he was like, line 3 power play 2, it's like, I guess I'm not that into him anymore. And a lot of people maybe dropped him, or I was suggesting, I guess not a reason to hold, but he had 2 points versus the Islanders. So like we were just talking about Evan Rodriguez. Let's say you have Benson on your roster. You're swapping Benson for Rodriguez, right? Like no question.
Oh, easy. Yes.
Easy. Okay. But Benson's still something, but low end at this point, just because of the deployment, even though he produced.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you another guy who's driving some people crazy. Not me, at least, but I'm sure a lot of people. Nikolai Ehlers over on Winnipeg. 2 games, no points in those games, and really low time on ice in the last game. So Ehlers just continues to frustrate. Still not on the top power play, of course, but even low, even strength time. Is it time to buy low on Ehlers or just give up on the guy?
Neither. Like I bought low on Ehlers at the draft. Like he just kept falling to the point that I could not draft him in one of my leagues. In the other leagues, I was coming close and talking myself out of drafting him for a couple rounds until he did go. Yeah, the ice time is concerning, and I guess the picture I'll try and paint there is I wonder. There's two possibilities because Ehlers played 17 minutes in the opener, which is like more or less in line with how much he's played recently, like in recent years. Then Ehlers played 11 and a half minutes against Florida. So like I have to assume that like the coming back from injury, like he is day to day, right? Like this is why his ice time is low. Like he did, although I feel like okay. Elon, help me get this timeline right. Was Ehlers injured at the end of the first game from blocking a shot? And then he was day to day, and then he played against Florida, and now he's day to day again. Do I have this right?
Is Nikolai Ehlers day to day right? I didn't even realize that. Okay, maybe
On
that's
Frozen
why he had.
Tools, he's showing. Yeah. So Elon, I wonder if we're if
overreacting. Oh, he's out for practice, none worse for wear. That's the latest. Oh, but that's like before.
That was before. So yeah, so Frozen Tools has Ehlers as day to day. Yahoo does not. I don't know why he only played 11 and a half minutes. Either he screwed up and Rick Bowness is mad, or he's still kind of hurt, or he's just Nick Ehlers and this is what is destined for him. At age 27. So if you bought low, which I assume no one overpaid for Nick Ehlers this year, I think you just wait and see if he can perform above the draft position that you got him at. And I wouldn't go out of my way though to try and buy low on him, nor would I go out of my way to cut bait really quickly. I would just like wait a week, see where we're at. He's a frustrating guy to hold.
Yeah. Okay. Wait a week, but we're going to touch base on Ehlers next week. I think we have to if he still isn't doing anything. Which is kind of like the kind of thing where then like if he does score some points, then probably I won't bring him up next week because it's like there's a lot of things to talk about and I wouldn't want to waste time. Like, but also then it would be like we never, wrap the bow. So I guess that's the epic nature of fantasy hockey, right? We never sort of finish telling the stories. The stories go on forever. Maybe the next time I'll bring up Nick Ehlers. Hopefully we don't talk about him for a while. That means things are good. If you haven't heard about Nick Ehlers, it's good news. Brian, we still have a ton to get to. So let's take a break. We'll get right back at it with more hot streaks. Okay, we got to up the mood a little bit. We started with Evan Rodriguez, and we've kind of gone down from there. So we're going to get to some hot streaks in just a sec. We'll be right back. All right, Brian, I want to go next. Oh, yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Taylor asked a question in the chat that I would love to just speak to really quickly. So
sure. All right.
You can come in and mention it, and then I will, again, cover it quickly.
Okay. All right, we are back. Brian, we have a lot of hot and cold streaks to get to. First, we have a question in the chat from Taylor. Are you guys liking what you see in Winnipeg overall? I've been kind of surprised by this first week, looking motivated. How are you feeling about the Jets so far? Should we say how they've been doing? They lost that game to Florida.
Yeah. Did they win the first game? I
assumed you knew. I don't know. How are you going to answer? How are you planning on answering this without knowing?
I was going to answer with underlying stats, not with
no. Okay, so I'll say
it looks like they've lost twice.
The answer is no. They also lost to Calgary 5-3. So Taylor is a very optimistic fan, saying they look motivated even though they've lost their first two games.
Yeah, well, you know what, Elon? If you're going to lose, you got to lose the right way, and that's what the underlying numbers are suggesting to me about Winnipeg. Elon, they beat Florida. They won. They lost to Calgary in the first game. Yeah.
Yay. Go Jets.
So the Jets are 1-1. I mean, but you don't want to win. Like I wouldn't expect a 6-4 win to be something that the team is like super happy with or Rick Bowness, but at 5-on-5, at least I will mention he is like whatever system's in place is working. The Jets rank best in the league in preventing chances and second in the league in creating scoring chances at 5-on-5. So good for them. Early returns are good. We'll see if this keeps up and Rick Bowness can honestly, if Rick Bowness does do all that he says needs to be done and actually achieves it this year, he will be a coaching candidate sought after for the rest of his life, which is basically the way to describe any one-time NHL coach as the system works. But yeah, so far things are looking good under the hood in Winnipeg.
And hey, over the hood, Scheifele and Hellebuck signed those big contracts, which was like everyone was thinking these guys were out the door.
Yeah.
Now they're there forever.
You know what? Those were good vibes. Like those were indications that like there was buy-in from key people on the team. So I think honestly, I think that's a good sign for Winnipeg overall. And again, I don't know how good they can be this year, but at least they can start working to get that roster into shape. So for maybe one more crack at a cup with Scheifele and Connor and Morrissey and Hellebuck. Because, I mean, a lot has to happen really quick because those guys are getting old if that team with that core is going to be able to get a shot at sniffing even, like the conference finals.
Yeah, so we'll find out. Another team that's on the up, probably behind Winnipeg right now, but maybe not, and not for long, is Detroit, especially after their huge acquisition of Alex DeBrincat in the offseason. And he has been everything that Detroit fans would have hoped for. And I've been spending the past couple weeks in Ottawa with my in-laws, and my wife's dad is a huge Sens fan, and he gets really annoyed whenever Alex DeBrincat scores. He's really unhappy with the start of the season for DeBrincat because he's like still mad that DeBrincat like said he wanted to be traded, and so then like the trade value was tanked because Ottawa didn't have any leverage, and now he's scoring, and he's like, oh, why couldn't he do that anyway? Oh, what, he didn't want to be on the second line on a team? Like, grow up, like it's fine. You were still anyway. Blah blah blah. He's great. So a goal versus New Jersey, 2 goals and an assist in the win over Tampa. He's not hitting posts, Brian. Like I know you were saying he was doing a lot last year. He's getting them, hitting the twine, and it looks like that season in Ottawa was just a blip. And Alex DeBrincat, to me, like I don't know, we're 2 games in only, but I think we're looking at 40 goal Alex DeBrincat again, if not higher. He's really clicking with Larkin so far. And right now, the third has been Lucas Raymond, and he had a goal yesterday. So he's been up and down, but especially with Detroit's schedule next week, which I talked in detail about in Matchup Maximizer, if somehow Lucas Raymond is still a free agent for you, go and grab him, get that Larkin and DeBrincat exposure.
Yeah, no reason to begrudge Alex DeBrincat for what he's doing. Like he has agency. He can do whatever he wants. Like I know.
But he hurt the team, Brian.
Yeah, I know. Like, and this is like, and this is a fan's narrative, and I get it. Like, it's cool. But I don't hold anything against him. Worth mentioning, Michael Rasmussen, who we mentioned before, not playing with any meaningful deployment. So, like, if you added him speculatively, like Lucas Raymond has taken his place, at least for the short term. And Elon, if you don't mind me bringing up one other Detroit Red Wing, Jake Wallman on defense. I'm looking for defensemen. 6 shots. 8 blocks.
Is he available?
And a power play point? Yeah, he's available.
Grab him.
Yeah.
How is he available with that schedule next week?
Playing 21 minutes a night. So he's someone you might want to make sure you're keeping an eye on if you need another defenseman.
Can I tell you something about Jake Wallman, which you're going to be ready to roll your eyes?
Okay.
I just added him out of free agency to my dynasty team.
Yeah, hooray. Good job.
He has a 3-year, $3.4 million contract, which was the reason why his previous manager dropped him before the contract started. It seemed a little bit too rich, but I saw these first couple games. I was like, it's a categories league, and it looks like a lot of shots, a lot of blocks, maybe a point here and there. 3.4 isn't that much. The cap's going to go up next year. Pretty stoked with my Jake Wallman acquisition, especially because I have Forsling, who seems like he's not like working out as well as I hoped so far, and he might get a big contract next year.
Could you like, just to compare, like we talked about Brock Faber earlier in the episode, who would you prefer right now, adding between him and Jake Wallman?
I think Wallman, right? He's on the top pairing with Seider. He's playing huge minutes. Shots and blocks and Kakapfel are worth a lot. I think he might luck into some goals soon if he keeps taking all these shots. So yeah, I would grab Wallman, Brian. And especially with the schedule next week, if we're talking about just right now, Wallman, like, yeah, in my opinion, IMO.
It's a 4-game week for Detroit, and like not very many teams are like, there's 3 teams playing 4 times. Detroit's one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I've got some choices to make whenever we get off the air. And by the way, like I don't know if it made to air, but I was talking about how I was comfortably winning my matchup. I hadn't seen that Ashley had made 2 ads leading up to tonight's games because I guess she saw some good early returns. I didn't see her make those ads, and I have an ad left, but it's too late. So I'm just watching. I'm up by 5/500ths of a point right now. I was up really comfortably. Very stressed out.
And you're against Stützle and Tarasenko?
Yeah, and Ryan Strome, who has an assist, and Jacob Slavin, who's probably gonna get a hit. Get 3 hits to win.
Good luck, pal.
And
Keep
I have Batherson. Batherson's doing nothing.
Can I throw another guy? Sorry, Brian. Can I throw another Detroit player at you?
Yeah.
Because again, this good schedule. Daniel Sprong, and you were talking about Michael Rasmussen, and how he like isn't anywhere in the lineup. Like, neither is Daniel Sprong, but it doesn't ever stop him. It didn't stop him last year in Seattle. It's not stopping him in Detroit. He's got 2 goals in his 2 games, 6 shots in yesterday's game, the big win over Tampa. So I mean, with that schedule, regardless of his line mates, lack of power play, like Daniel Sprong just keeps scoring goals just like he did last year. So he's a really good short-term ad, in my opinion. So, anyways, Brian, let's go to the next hot streak, or a set of hot streaks over in Pittsburgh. You must be happy about Evgeny Malkin, 2 goals and 4 assists in his 3 games so far, and 15 shots. Those are Connor Bedard shot numbers, averaging 5 shots per game. So Malkin really coming out strong, and he's not alone, right? Gansel's been great. Crosby's been great. Brian Rust and Riley Smith all doing really well. Rust had 2 goals versus Calgary in the 5-2 win. He's only 39% rostered. So if you're in a shallower league, maybe you take a look at Rust. But of course, with all this happiness, Brian, you know me, I got to bring the sadness. I don't know why I say that. It's not really generally my vibe, but I'm going to do it anyway. Rickard Rakell. He's on the top power play with all these guys. He's on a good line, only 1 assist in 3 games and only 5 shots. So Rakell kind of getting not as bad as the Evander Kane, but I'm a little bit concerned about Rakell, but actually I'm not. I'll just answer my own question. Say I'm not concerned, but I'm curious if you are with his slow start.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be that concerned. Like Rakell is still getting all the deployment that we was hoping we would. Like nothing is going like terribly wrong for Rakell, except that the points haven't shown up yet. So I'm not. No, I'm not going to overreact. I still like Rakell today as much as I did at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's just always like frustrating when all the people he's playing with are going off and just he's the only one left behind. Also, Erik Karlsson, come on, be better. Only 1 assist in 3 games so far.
Adjustment period.
I hope so, man. This might be another long season for me, Brian, but I took Erik Karlsson in the top of the 3rd round in Cupful, 3rd round reversal. It's like should have just gone with like a Kyle Connor, Connor Bedard.
Let me ask you something. And like I don't mean to make you panic even more.
Oh, you're gonna make me feel worse. Okay, great. Let's hear it.
No, well, I guess my question, I'm just wondering, like, let's say, and this is extremely unlikely, or maybe let me frame it this way. How many games of Erik Karlsson not producing on the power play means that Chris Letang gets tossed back up there?
I mean, Pittsburgh is scoring a lot of goals, so I don't know. I haven't even thought about that yet, Brian. So don't put that out there. But
they are.
The thing is,
and they're 2 for 8 on the power play. So just because, like, Karlsson's not like that's good converting. So it's not like it's not like a very scary moment. Even though Karlsson wasn't in on either of those 2 power play goals, it's not. They've still scored twice. It's like Shabbat, but you don't want him to be like Shabbat either, where like. The power play runs really great, and all you need to do is just like hang out with us, man.
Yeah, and I also need Erik Karlsson to be like really, really good. Like I need him to not just like improve a little, right? I need him to be worth that super high pick. I need him to be like last year. Maybe it was dumb. I just like Erik Karlsson, but right now I don't. So maybe I shouldn't have picked him. That's the best way to like turn your favorite player into someone you don't like anymore.
Did you get your hat yet?
No.
Do you want it less now?
I need to win a matchup first, and then I'll consider my Penguins hat. Jari was good in that last game, though. I've Karlsson and Jari, and Jari shut out the Caps after he had a rough 5 minutes at the end of the first game of the season against Chicago, but he shut out the Caps after, so that was good.
The Caps forgot to take shots that whole game.
Yeah, that would have helped probably.
Yeah,
maybe not because Jari was so good. Okay, next up, let's go to the Islanders really quickly. So Brock Nelson, first of all. I know we always say Brock Nelson's super boring, not even worth talking about. Let him fall in drafts. You'll get him later. Like he's actually just like really good, right? I feel like we should just forget this narrative. He had a goal and assist in the Islanders' first game of the year in the win over Buffalo. Brock Nelson's like you set your watch to the guy. He's a 70-point guy. Maybe upside for more. Who knows? He's really good.
Well, I mean, that's where you always go with it, right? Like, I
take it too far.
Well, that's it. Like that, and that's why I think the narrative we set on Brock Nelson is that he's boring because I don't think the upside is there. But the nice, secure point production has been for most of the last 4 seasons now. So that's why he's boring. He's not gonna like blow the doors off, and he's not gonna do it in a very exciting way. And like he kind of just like looks boring too. But aside from that, like he's not wearing glasses like Brock Faber or anything. There's like no personality in his picture. He could just be like any dude in his player profile pic. So do
you think that when Brock Nelson walks down the street in New York, like people recognize him, or do you think he could just go about his business
in Long Island? And I don't know where he lives. Like,
answer the question.
No, I did. Who is recognized? What professional hockey players are recognized when they walk down the street? Like, I'd say like Panarin, Zibanejad.
Zibanejad with the hair.
Yeah. Do you think anyone else?
Kreider has been around forever. He's got to be like a bit of a hero over
Yeah,
there.
I would feel like, yeah, that's a good guess.
By the way, Kreider, what a start to the season for him. 3 goals in 2 games. Also, just like, who were we just talking about who had 3 goals in 2 games? Oh,
Brock Nelson.
Oh no, DeBrincat. Well, Nelson's only played once. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Kreider looking really good. Do you think there's a chance Kreider is ready to repeat his season from 2 years ago? He's sort of been, last year was a step down, but maybe now he's back. Maybe similar to DeBrincat, actually. After a down year, Kreider's really starting hot.
Yeah, it's nice to see Kreider get 2 early power play goals after that's where he lost a lot of those points that we saw him pick up 2 seasons ago. So I like that's promising. Like, I want to see Chris Kreider scoring early on the power play and feeling confident and being like, yeah, I am back. He's of course scored 3 times on 7 shots, which we don't expect to keep up all season long, but he has taken 7 shots over 2 games, which is great. It'd be great to see Kreider still like end up on the high side, like on like above 3 shots per game rather than like even just a smidge below. I just want Kreider above it. So yeah, I think it's really nice to see a promising start from Kreider. I'm not going to pronounce that he's back yet, and I still maintain that Kreider's 78-point pace 2 years ago was too high, but I still think that, as I've said already on the show through the offseason several times, a return to 70 points is around what I expect from him, and the early returns are nice.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you there. And actually, I wasn't even done on the Islanders. I only brought Brock Nelson up because he's so boring. I was only bringing him up as a springboard to talk about the player I actually wanted to talk about, because Nelson's probably, if Nelson's available in your league, grab him. But like, he's probably taken if you're in a serious league. But the assist that Brock Nelson had in that game on Saturday against Buffalo, against Devin Levi, the goal scorer was Kyle Palmieri, who was also on the top power play. And I think it's time to give Palmieri a serious look, because he's on the second line, but it's the line with Brock Nelson, who's super reliable to score like 35, 40 goals and whatever. We've talked enough about Brock Nelson. Also, Palmieri is on the top power play. So he's like right there with, Horvat and Barzal and Nelson and company. Who's the 4th forward? Actually, oh no, that's it. Nelson, Palmieri, yeah, Horvat and Barzal, and then you got Dobson. So I've just named some Islanders players for you all. So yeah, Palmieri's available in all leagues pretty much. So yeah, I think come Tuesday, maybe you don't have to rush to grab him right now, but it's kind of like a similar situation to what's his name again? Besser, yeah, to Brock Besser. He's on the second line, but it's like a second line with like a really good centerman, and then he's on the top power play. So not to say that Palmieri has the same upside as Besser, but he's been good in the past, and I like the spot he's in. And he started the season strong. He also ended last season really strong. So again, I don't want to go too nuts, but I think it's worth taking a look at Kyle Palmieri. Brian, what do you think? Palmieri versus Evan Rodriguez. Is it at all close?
No, it's not at all close. And like you said, Palmieri's been good in the past. Like, we're talking like 2019-20.
No, I'm saying he ended last season strong. He had a really strong end.
Yeah, to get to a 49-point pace. Like, clearly I'm not as sold on Palmieri as you, but like as a bottom roster streamer, like you're making a lot of reasons why we could at least be interested. Like, I don't think he's in the same category at all as Evan Rodriguez. And like,
fair.
Even that says something. Like, Evan Rodriguez is someone we really like and get deployment, but we don't know how long it's going to last. So yeah, I think I've brought like my laugh about the Palmieri versus Rodriguez question probably told you all I need to think or feel about Palmieri. But like, you know what? I'll put Palmieri in like the James Van Riemsdyk-ish category of streamers. Like, old guy, was good. It's been a while. There's a chance because of deployment.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit higher on Palmieri than you. I agree in general, but James Van Riemsdyk, who, by the way, just scored 2 goals in his last game on the top power play, I believe a lot more in Palmieri than JVR. But do you want to talk about JVR, who hasn't been getting the top line deployment that we discussed in the preseason show that we did last week? But or actually, no, in the last game, he actually did get back and was playing with Pasternak and Pavel Zacha, and was also on the top power play. And like I said, he scored a couple goals. Both of those goals were on the power play, 2 power play goals. So really nice game for JVR. And is he someone you're looking to add?
Yeah, like again, I'm in the same place as I was with JVR before, which is I'm happy to stream him as like I think the Nick Paul comparison doesn't quite make sense here because I
I
think
didn't
Van
make it
Riemsdyk.
on the show. It was in
No,
the
I
notes though.
oh okay. I actually didn't see it in the notes. I was just like I was about to say it myself.
Okay.
But like Van Riemsdyk is playing fourth line minutes, and he was able to score 2 power play goals on 3 total shots against Nashville, which is great, right? Like now let's put him on our radars. I still have him like very much in like the Nick Paul sort of category. The one thing Van Riemsdyk has going for him over Nick Paul is that it wasn't like he has been a 60-point player, and it wasn't like so long ago that he was a 60-point player. So I see Van Riemsdyk as being like this maybe like Stefan Nason, Nick Paul type power play specialist, barely plays at 5-on-5, plays with no one good at 5-on-5, but is going to get a lot of power play chances, which makes him a good short-term stream, but not someone I'm holding on my roster and sacrificing games played to do that for.
Yeah, I'm going to have JVR ahead of Nick Paul because he is actually playing with Pastrnak at even strength, at least in the last game. And I'm going to have both of those guys over Stefan Nason. But anyways, yeah. Okay. I think we're on the same page. I'll have Palmieri, though, over JVR. I'll just throw that out there for myself.
Okay, me too.
Okay, great. Oh, nice. High five. Brian, let's take one last break, then finish off my list of hot and cold streaks. I think I have a little bit gas left. Hopefully you do too. I think it's going to be good. We'll be back soon. Okay, Brian, here we go. The final period of part 2 of the first week mega episode of Keeping Karlsson. And we're doing some hot and cold streaks. I want to go to Philly next. Travis Konechny, very nice start. He seems to be immune to the Tortorella effect. Everyone's bouncing around the lineup. People weren't too excited about Konechny's line mates even to start the year. I'm actually even like forget. I think it was Scott Lawton and Noah Cates. Yeah, and still that's been his line. It doesn't matter, right?
The lines in Philly stink.
But it doesn't hurt Travis Konechny because he still has 3 goals and an assist in his 2 games so far. So another 3-goal scorer. He's awesome. Are you concerned about this line enough to say that you don't think, obviously he's not going to keep this up, but like, do you think he'll be fine regardless because he's such a great superstar?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem to matter for Konechny. Look at last year. There was nobody else in the lineup for him to play with. He was great all year long. He was disrespected in drafts this year. I saw it in every draft I was in. And still yet I thought he'd be disrespected a little more than he was, and I missed him. I just was never picking at the right point of the draft. But yeah, no, I'm not worried about Konechny, Elon. I think he's really good. And I think he seems to be able to just make things happen when he's on the ice. Point per game on last year's Philadelphia team. And I think he has a decent chance at repeating that this year. You're muted.
Sorry. Okay. Right. Yeah. No, totally with you. Yeah, I think Konechny is looking really good. Hope he stays healthy. There is a guy in Philly, though, that was also drafted pretty high that I think maybe is kind of looking like a bust so far. As much of a bust as you can be 2 games into the season, but he was super high on Dom's spreadsheet. And I think that led to a boost for Owen Tippett, who had a really strong end to last season. But Tippett has not been getting the deployment that we would have hoped. Tippett's been playing on an even strength line with Atkinson and Frost, which I guess is okay, but he's been off the top power play. And yeah, pointless in the 2 games for Tippett. Is this at a point now, Brian, where you just kind of have to drop and move on, or do you still have some faith that Tippett can be worth at least holding, if not worth the draft spot he was taken in?
I mean, compared to some of the other guys that I've said to drop tonight, Tippett is someone who seems to have a little bit more upside and a little bit more certainty, and is still like about to just sort of settle in. I know he spent the whole last season in Philly and was able to score 27 goals, and basically the first time Tippett's really been given any measure of sustained opportunity. So I'm not giving up on Tippett yet, but I am a little concerned that he hasn't cracked the top power play unit. So if I see that continue for another game or 2, then I would absolutely say goodbye to Tippett at that point. But if you have some patience to spare, I would be willing to give Tippett a little bit more than some of the other guys that I've been a little more ruthless with cutting off my roster.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends the situation you're in. I'm really having trouble holding like line. If you're not on the top line or top power play,
yeah,
I have concerns. And like Tippett,
yeah. And in the cupful, Elon, I totally understand. Like, I guess, do you have Tippett and Fantilli? You dropped Fantilli already?
Yeah, I never had Tippett.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Well, sorry. Then let me just ask you, who would you drop first between Tippett and Fantilli?
At this point, I would prefer Fantilli because I like that he's playing with line 8 even strength. I think he has a lot more upside. Like it's just a matter of when he's going to reach it. Even though Tippett's like a good prospect in his own right, but I think there's a decent chance Fantilli gets on the top power play before Tippett does at this point. As crazy as it
Yeah.
is, like Tyson Forster, by the way, came into the lineup the last game, jumped right to the top power play, picked up an assist, power play assist. So maybe he's already taken Tippett's spot. Well, who knows with Tortorella, right? But Philly's crazy. Can I mention another guy on Philly actually while we're here?
That's
Travis
actually a really good
Oh,
point, though. Like the John Tortorella effect too. Like we don't know, and maybe that's what, Elon. I'm starting to think. I said you could cut Fantilli. I feel like that advice probably extends to Tippett. If I'm really thinking this through, I wouldn't be comfortable holding him, but I would keep him on my watch list.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it's a bummer because I think some people took him pretty high, especially because of the scarcity for right wing. So hopefully he proves us wrong and people will be like, oh, look at these idiots. Recommended dropping Tippett and he scored 4 goals next game. But yeah, I wanted to mention Travis Sanheim over in Philly, who I think appears to be their top defenseman, at least with Rasmus Ristolainen out. He's been playing a ton of minutes, averaging 25 minutes a game so far, 2 assists in those 2 games. So, nice to see the points, 3 shots, 3 blocks, nothing crazy, but he also got a decent chunk of power play time in the last game. I wonder if I know a lot of people like drafted Cam York in their leagues, wanting their top power play guy. I think I'm at a point now where if I had to have a Philly defenseman, it might be Sanheim. I also saw a tweet from a Philly beat writer, I don't remember which one, saying Sanheim looked like really awesome in preseason, and he totally called that he was gonna like break out this year. So he's happy with the results so far. He actually linked to like the tweet where he said that in the preseason. It wasn't just like someone making something up. So all that to say, I just actually added Provorov in my league, a couple where I needed a defenseman. I could have taken Sanheim. So there you go. There's my ranking there, but Sanheim's still someone I have on my watch list.
Yeah, you could put him on your watch list. Elon, is Cam York in this conversation at all? Top power play quarterback, has a goal already on 6 shots. Like 6 shots is more than I was expecting Cam York to have. Like in 54 games last year, Cam York had 42 shots. So
yeah, so give me Cam York then for sure.
Okay, all right, cool.
But when I say for sure, I mean like let's watch really closely because we'll see what Tortorella does, and maybe they lost the last game, right? Against Ottawa.
Wait, when you say we'll see what Tortorella does, are you suggesting that you think Tortorella is going to put Travis Sanheim on the top unit ahead of Cam York?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I think he will, but I'm saying he totally could. Like, it wouldn't be a shocker. Cam York hasn't earned it.
I would be. Okay. All right.
Like Cam York's never done it before. Like, this is his first season.
But why? I guess I just don't. I don't fully understand what Sanheim has done that York hasn't.
I don't know. I think neither of them have done anything. And so Philly lost their last game and maybe they're going to want to shake things up. So we'll wait and see.
On the top power play. Usually like the shakeups don't happen on the top power play.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, I think if you go in assuming something about what Tortorella is going to do with his lines or his power play, you might not have a good time.
Sure.
I had a note here saying, does Korpisalo suck? And then in brackets, see how today goes. And it looks like actually today went pretty well. The Sens ended up winning 5-2. And Korpisalo had a .917 save percentage, stopped 22 of 24. So I guess he doesn't suck just yet. And
he looked a little shaky at the outset of the game. I also can't remember if that was on air or not when we were talking. I think it was on the from part 1. But yeah, he held it down. Good for him.
Good job. Okay, let's go to Seattle. I guess we covered it. Grubauer's been fine. DeCourt had a really good game. But let's go to the forwards. Another guy who was drafted kind of high, Matty Beniers, total zeros so far. Actually, all of Seattle hasn't scored. Like, it's been really not great for them. And they've played, I think, 3 games now. It's not even one of these 2-game teams. Yeah, 3 games for Matty Beniers. And we're looking at no points, only 4 shots in 3 games. So makes for kind of a tough hole. Yeah, Seattle scored only 1 goal in the 2-1 loss to St. Louis, a shutout by Nashville and UC Saros, and they scored 1 time. So we're looking at 2 goals over 3 games so far for Seattle, which isn't great for a team that we thought was like a playoff contender. You probably have to score some goals if you want to make the playoffs. So I guess I'm bringing up Matty Beniers, but you could say it about Burakovsky. You could say about a lot of players. Jared McCann, do you drop, like, who would you hold? It's not even who do you drop. It's like, who would you hold of the forwards in Seattle at this point?
So Seattle has been shooting 2.3%. They have 2 goals on 87 shots. That's not great. at all, and it shows up in everybody's numbers. It's not a reason to like give up though on the team. So like Beniers is somebody who like I think I've been on record as saying like is a bit of a dicey pick because center only on a team that rotates the top 9 and also has not been a great big shooter. So he's someone that like well, it's hard because he doesn't fit the profile of someone I'm regularly interested in drafting. So I can't really speak on how holdable he is, but I think you try just to see how big a step forward he can take. And when the goals do start coming, how many of them is he going to be in on? McCann has 11 shots over 3 games, so you can definitely hold him. Oliver Bjorkstrand's next with 7 shots, which is barely more than 2 per game, right? And then everybody else has 2 shots per game or less. Like Schwartz, Eberle, Burakovsky. So who do I hold, Elon? I think I hold McCann, and I think I hold Beniers, and I think I hold Burakovsky. I think everybody else I let go of, and I'm not counting Vince Dunn because he's on defense, and that's a bit of a different situation. But that's my list. Is it at all similar to yours?
I guess so. Well, Burakovsky's actually just dropped in my tier 3 couple division.
Yeah. So let me qualify that by saying, like, if Burakovsky was dropped, I don't know that I'm racing to pick him up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell my league mates now, like, maybe I'll have an opening on Tuesday. Maybe I won't. He's someone I'll consider on Tuesday. So someone's gonna have to wake up at 3 a.m. If you want to guarantee that that I don't take Burakovsky from you, you'll have to grab him before Tuesday at 3 a.m. But I don't know if I'm gonna take him. I might take someone else, but he's on my list. We'll see. Okay. Next up, Brian, let's go to Arizona as we hit the 10-minute warning here. We need to finish the show by then. I want to talk about this group of guys. No, okay, let me stop this because I was like thinking while I was talking. Let's go to Arizona next. What a start for this team. Their first game, they beat the New Jersey Devils, who were like super highly, expected to win, highly favored in that game. Like, Devils were coming off a back-to-back for what it's worth. But yeah, Nick Schmaltz, what a start, right? I actually don't have that. Sorry, one sec. Schmaltz, what a start. This is at the point when in my prep where I was running out of time and I had to just kind of write down the things without having my notes, which definitely my shows are better when I have it all noted. It was my daughter's birthday party today. It was very fun.
But not her birthday.
Tomorrow's her birthday. Today was the birthday party, and I didn't have time to finish. Okay. I'm going to start the whole Arizona thing over again.
No excuses.
All right, next up, Brian, I want to go to the Arizona Coyotes. What a start to the season for them, coming back for the win against the Devils, the highly favored New Jersey Devils. The Devils were on the back end of a back-to-back, but still, like, I can't take anything away from the Coyotes, who are looking a lot better than they have in previous seasons, specifically because while they have that great top line with Keller, Schmaltz, and Hayton, and by the way, Keller and Schmaltz both with great games. Nick Schmaltz, 1 goal, 1 assist. Keller, couple assists. I don't know why Nick Schmaltz. I was doing my matchup maximizer yesterday and looking at Arizona being one of the few teams that play 4 times, and I was looking at the percent roster on Yahoo, and like just like last year, it's like, why don't people have Nick Schmaltz on their team? I'm sure if we looked at the couple percent roster that Kevin has generated, I'm sure he's 100%. It would be crazy to imagine a league without Nick Schmaltz rostered because he's really great. But now Arizona also has a second line that's good, centered by Logan Cooley, who had a great start to his career, 2 assists. That's what you want to see from one of these rookies that you reached for in a draft. And so, yeah, Cooley looking good. And so we'll see if that helps someone like a Zucker or a Kerfoot. They didn't do anything points wise last game, but it was enough for Arizona to get the win against the Devils. Also, I'll point out Sean Dursey scored a goal. He's someone that we've been talking about all offseason as a defenseman who probably has a lot to raise up from last year now that he's in this position on the top power play. And yeah, he produced for sure. He's with a power play goal assisted by Keller and Cooley. So do I have a question for you about Arizona? That's a whole other question. I guess here's my question. Is it time to take the Coyotes seriously? Like, is this I think this is actually a team that's good. Like, and I think where that manifests maybe, aside from obviously grab Cooley if he's available, grab Schmaltz if he's available. But like grab Hayton, by the way, even though he didn't get a point, grab him, I'd say. But like Vejmelka is a goalie who I think is really good. He played really well in this game against the Devils. And he's always been someone that we've talked about. He seems good. Like, faces a lot of shots. Sometimes he'll steal a game. But I think now that Arizona Coyotes are actually good, I think that could be very exciting for a Karel Vejmelka, because I know last year he was losing some starts to the backup, but I think that might have been a lot of just Arizona's not anything. So they might as well just just play Vejmelka all the time.
Vejmelka was also not great. Like,
Sure.
I don't think it was like, let's give the guy a break because we suck. We kind of suck maybe a little because of Vejmelka.
It could be. So I'm trying to build a narrative here. You're right. Connor Ingram was pretty good, but I'm pretty excited. Like, if you need a goalie, Brian, and like, I think that would be another target I would go after is Vejmelka, because I think Arizona's looking pretty good.
I could see Vejmelka starting 2 of 3 for now. And then, like, if he plays like he's worth more, or Ingram plays like he's worth less, I could see Vejmelka become like getting back up to those volume numbers. Like, Arizona's played 1 game, right? So we're still basically going on our preseason projections of them. But Elon, I like what you're saying. Like, their offense at 5-on-5 was fantastic last game. Their defense seemed okay too. So I don't, and they've slayed a giant already 1 game into the season. So yeah, I wonder, Elon, every time that I think a team is about to take a step forward, I'm usually like 1, maybe 2 years ahead. So I don't know if Arizona's there yet, but I think there's at least more sunlight there than there has been for a long, long time.
Yeah, so we'll see. Obviously, a team to watch. If Vejmelka is available in free agency and you need a goalie, I think he's someone I would definitely take a stab at right now. And those forwards that I said. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Vegas now.
I would drop Burakovsky for Vejmelka. That sounds like
sure.
I don't know. You were talking about, and then people in the chat were talking about dropping Burakovsky too. Like, I take back. Like, I was a very, like, I think you could hold. I think you could let him go.
Okay, but I might add him on Tuesday. So watch out. Tier 3
He's
for Lundell.
Still very interesting.
We'll see. I'm trying to actually just convince someone else to use an ad on him.
Are you really?
Well, I don't know what I'm doing exactly. I won't be sad if someone takes Burakovsky, but I also might. Maybe I'd take him. I have a couple guys ahead of him. Okay, let's look at Vegas, the defending Stanley Cup champions. A lot of guys off to a hot start. Over in Vegas. Of course, Jack Eichel, 4 points in 3 games. He's very good. But actually, the leading scorer of the team right now, Chandler Stevenson, your guy, Brian. You always talk him up. He's centering Mark Stone, and another hot start, 5 points and 2 goals, 3 assists for Chandler Stevenson. He's been on the top power play. So, just another. He keeps going. Like, I feel like I'm one of the people who's like, I don't want to draft Chandler Stevenson. He's kind of like a Brock Nelson to me, but he's good.
Well, I think Yeah, because I can see like the boring factor, and also unlike like Stevenson takes like 1.5 shots per game for the last however many years. But I think I'm feeling pretty good, Elon. Like, I called Donato and Stevenson as good week 1 ads because of their schedule and their potential to produce, and they both hit. So I'm just gonna I need this pat on the back as I watch myself lose my matchup this week that I definitely thought I was going to win.
I mean, to be fair, you still have Zegras and Fowler. You're only down by 4 points. You have Zegras and Fowler against Strome and Slavin. So, like, I think the likely outcome is probably that Zegras scores a goal. He's so good. So I think you might still be okay.
I appreciate your optimism. You're right. I haven't. I'm bummed.
Well, don't be bummed, Jed.
Okay, if you know what? That was just my excuse to give myself a brag about
I love that for you.
I would have bragged either way. Okay, that was just, I thought I had an opening where I could do it.
Yeah, and you deserve it, and you're doing great. And as far as your matchup goes, Brian, think of it this way: this is what we play for. It's so exciting. Wouldn't be any fun if you just blow out all your matchups.
I would
right?
much rather win.
Isn't it so fun that it's 10 p.m.
Close matchup.
We're closing out a podcast. You got a close matchup. I already lost. I lost a long time ago. You get to have some fun.
I envy you.
Okay. Who else do I have here? I guess it's in Calgary. Okay, let's go and talk about those crazy lines where it seems like they've been blendering a bit, but in the last game we were back to, I think, where we started in the preseason episode with Andrew Mangiapane, or maybe we were talking about how Andrew Mangiapane wasn't on the top. I don't even remember anymore, but Mangiapane has been back playing with Huberdeau and Lindholm, and also no, actually not on the top power play though. In the last game, Mangiapane was on power play too, while Matt Coronado was there. So let's look at those 2 guys and how they're doing so far, as they might be available in some leagues. Mangiapane had a great start to the season, 2 goals and an assist versus Winnipeg. Then he threw an assist against Pittsburgh. So I think we've got to say top line, but not top power play, but still probably. Are you rushing to add Mangiapane? Is he like where does he rank in the Erod to Kyle Palmieri spectrum?
I'd put him maybe sandwiched in between, like, or even with Palmieri, like a Rodriguez still. I'll say sandwiched in between. Mangiapane doing, like, Calgary's been so weird though. Like, their lines are so strange, and you look at like Backlund as somebody else who was supposed to be like as rosterable or interesting as Mangiapane earlier in the season. And like does he have one shot through 2 games? Like he's barely done anything. But I guess we're talking about Mangiapane. So instead of wondering what happened with Backlund, I should just celebrate Mangiapane, which I am. Way to go.
Yeah, so far. But again, not top power play means, all they have to do is, and like Brian famously has said, coaches don't generally change the power play. They only change the even strength lines. So
no, after a loss, you always are like, they lost the game. Maybe that's your optimistic, like when you want to change to happen. You're like, yes, they lost the last game.
Well, makes sense.
But Backlund has 4 shots over his last 2 games. But I guess what I was getting at was like, nobody has stood out in Calgary. Like at least Huberdeau has 6 shots in 2 games. You've got Anderson and Rasmus Anderson and Blake Coleman with 5 shots. And then the rest of the team is averaging 2 or fewer shots per game. And like weird ice times that's been like completely spread out. I don't know. Elias Lindholm is seeing a lot of minutes. That's good.
He's good. And like I said, there's a new guy on the top power play named Matt Coronado, who's actually been there for both games, and he scored a power play goal in that big loss. He scored a power play goal in the 5-2 loss to Pittsburgh.
Which really just adds to my confusion. Like, I think it like underscores everything that I've been saying. Like, do you know who Matt Coronado is?
I think he's a guy with a pedigree, a 13th overall pick in 2021. So he's brand new.
Yeah.
So Brian, let me ask you, who the heck? Well, I just said it. He's a high pedigree guy.
Yeah, that's
I don't think anyone expected him to be top power play right now.
Yeah.
So,
20 years old, undersized. He turns 21 next month. He now has 3 career NHL. He got a cup of coffee with the Flames after finishing his season with Harvard in the ECAC Division I college hockey last year, where he was above a point per game for the 2nd consecutive college season. So we'll see what happens next.
Okay. So yeah, it's really tough to predict.
That's us running out of steam.
Yeah. Also, Calgary has a really good schedule next week. It's Arizona, Calgary, and who was the third? Detroit are the 3 teams that everyone's targeting. So obviously, if you could get a Coronado, you get a Mangiapane, you might get 4 games or 3 games versus someone who you might get only like 2 games out of or 1. So Brian, that does it for our first mega episode of the season. Sorry we ran out of steam, I guess, a little bit at the end, but hopefully people enjoyed it. Let us know what you think of the show. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter. If you're a patron of Keeping Karlsson, throw us a comment in KK episode discussion. Doesn't even have to just be like great show, guys. You could be all, I think actually you should spend too much time talking about Coronado and you should have spent more time talking about Nick Suzuki. I don't know. Okay. So we're open to feedback. It's the start of the season. We're, shaking off the rust here, and hopefully we're going to be able to keep getting better and giving you good content all throughout the season. We're definitely going to do our very, very best. So make sure you're subscribed over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I don't know. I use Pocket Casts. I never say it when I'm like listing the things out because I feel like maybe it's a waste of breath, but it's not. It's a good app. And Brian threw out his favorite score app at the beginning of the show. What was that again? Score alerts?
Sports alerts.
Sports alerts. So yeah, I'll say my favorite podcast app is Pocket Cast. It's great. So yeah, hopefully you're subscribed to us so you get every show. It actually helps us also if you subscribe. So if you want to help us out, that's free. Also giving us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. That's also free for you.
And writing a review is also free.
Yeah. So anything, if you want to help us out, we just sat here for 2 hours and tried to help you out. So those are a couple things you could do. If you have a little spare kashish, jingling in your pocket, you can become a patron. Brian's shaking his head, but I'll just keep going.
I've never heard anyone say that.
You never heard kashish?
No.
I don't know if it's like a really old person word or a young person word. We'll have to look that up afterwards.
I think it's definitely not a young person word.
Okay. So, well, we'll see. I do know. So I do watch Big Brother, and there's a lot of young people, and I hear them all talk all the time. Boots down. That's a term young people say, apparently.
What does it mean?
I don't know. I don't really know. The person who says it is really weird. She's like, I think she's kind of phony, to be honest. Blue on Big Brother. But don't spoil me. I actually haven't watched the last 2 episodes. But okay.
This is a wild ride.
What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Become a patron of Keeping Karlsson. Throw us some kashish, $5 a month US. It gets you all the perks that we have available.
Made up.
Which I think the best perk is our Discord, which is so fun. And actually it's pretty good because we have this great product that all these amazing people are the ones providing it for us because our patrons are awesome. We just met up with some patrons in Ottawa last week. We had a really fun time doing that. And we also have fun chats all the time. People have really good advice. Everyone's really friendly. So come hang out. the nice thing about Patreon is you sign up. If you don't like it, you just have to leave. You don't have to make a big commitment, right? It's $5. So if you want to support us, check it out. KeepingCarlsson.com/patron. But with that, Brian, I've done enough shilling and blabbing. So let's cue the outro music. Take us out of here.
Enough, Kurt. All right. This episode of the Keeping Karlsson Fantasy Hockey Podcast was presented by Dobber Hockey and powered by our patrons, including our super supporters. Our first one was Patty, who has since been joined by Ricard, Max, Rob, David, Derek, Ryan, Tom, Zachary, Andrea, Sammy, Ivan, Aaron, Patrick, Michael, Don, and Roman. I love that the list is getting longer. Thank you all so very much. We very much appreciate your support, as well as all patrons. Thank you to our Cupful coordinator, Kevin A. Bear, and our also known as our head of automation. The Cupful has been amazing so far this year. We're 1 week in to the season, but we're like 3 weeks into the Cupful. And damn, it's been amazing. So thank you, Kevin. If you are looking to join at some point this season, you could still get on the wait list, kkupfl.com. We will need managers to take over teams that need a manager at some point in the season for a variety of reasons. It happens in a league with almost 700 people. So we'd love for you to join us and get all the patron perks along with that. Thank you, Elon and Shams, for all you're doing to keep us off of Twitter and on GameDayTweets.com to get everything we need to know about what beat writers are tweeting. Follow Lewis and Jeremy and Shams at Short Shifts KK. I think it's mostly Lewis, but listen to all three of them on our Short Shifts episodes midweek. Logo art by BrendanWeave.com. Outro music by Pat Roach. This episode was researched with help from Dobber Hockey, Frozen Tools, Dobber Prospects, Natural Stat Trick, Evolving Hockey, Cap Friendly, The Athletic, HockeyGoalies.org, Hockey Reference, Hockey Fizz, Hockey Database, Elite Prospects, and Yahoo. Oh, and you know what, Elon? And Cupful.com.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sports alerts.
Oh, and sports alerts.
Great job as always, Brian. This was a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing this all again with you next week. And in the meantime, we're going to get a couple short shifts episodes from our gurus at making short shows, which I don't understand how you do that and get so much content out. I was actually nervous after listening to Thursday's show that we're not going to have anything to talk about. And then here we go for 2 hours. So shows what I know. But yeah, they're awesome. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to talking to you. And then while I wait in anticipation for all these great things to come out of our feed, and I'm also looking forward to having another matchup where I have a chance to win. But while I wait for all of this, what should I do?
I humbly and kindly ask that you keep doing all you can to make sure that anyone can play fantasy hockey and that fantasy hockey is for everyone. Same
Nice.
thing. Yeah.
Same thing. But say it twice. Just emphasize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No rules on the podcast for what color you can put on your
hockey tape.
Hockey tape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun. Okay. Thanks, chat. Thanks,
job.
Brian.
Woohoo.
Brian, we still have to make our plan. I think we're waiting on a message from you to confirm when we're going to go have our adult hang. Brian and I had a really fun hang with our families on the weekend.
Oh, crap.
And now we want to have a hang where we're going to dump the kids, go get some brewskis with just the adults.
Yeah.
We could talk about that off the air.
If you're waiting for me to send the message,
then I should send a new message.
Yeah, you should definitely go through Josie or something. I don't know.
Okay, I
will try.
Should we invite the patrons to come out to our hang with our wives? Probably not. This one has to be just a one-on-one.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, I think. I wonder what I'm sure we'd all be happy to. I'm sure.
I mean, the people we met on
it was awesome.
Thursday. It was
so much fun. Yeah, I just can't.
Norm was there. Norm's in the chat.
So my own thought was that it's rare that I have social time. So for me to we go out to do something like adult. So if I asked, to share that time, I'm just not sure.
No, I know. Sean also was in the chat earlier. He drove me home.
Oh, Sean. I didn't see Sean in the chat.
I thought I saw him at some point.
Didn't say hi to me.
You know what? Maybe I'm thinking Sean was in a different chat I'm in. I think actually, yeah.
What? Oh, your
Discord
team chat?
Or maybe that. I don't even know.
What?
Well, we're really biffing the end of this YouTube video, but I think the actual show was good. So
bluffing.
See you, everybody. Bye, Brian. Talk to you later. Don't forget to put the 2 parts for the show.
Yeah, I remember how to do that. I think so. No problem.
We'll go look at the last couple.
Can I just call this License to Ill? Do you know the? What do you want to call it?
I don't know. I guess that doesn't really. I guess, yeah. Go with your gut. Actually,
My
I
gut has
almost
been
wonder
like
if.
pretty good.
Tell me if you think there's something to like naming part one, like saying part
No,
one headlines and injuries, and then part
no,
two hot and cold streaks. Since that's how I
absolutely
split it up
not.
on the show. You don't think that's good? We shouldn't let people even know what's like coming in each part. It should be a surprise. You're saying,
Yeah.
okay, like maybe it could be part one and then in brackets headlines and injuries, and then part two in brackets. Like after your fun name, License to Ill, and then you describe it. No,
I
it's too
think
stupid. Okay.
let's do like a 70 word title, I think is what we should do.
All right. All right. See you, everybody. I'm sure it'll be great, whatever you come up with.
I don't know. All right.
Bye.